Just a few more minutes.
Yeah. And this is for the project on Culprit Road?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, I have printed some.
I got you.
Okay, thank you. Hey, how are you? Good, good.
We're ready to start, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Hello, welcome everybody to the Caddo Parish Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for March 29th, 2023. We're going to call the meeting to order. We start each one of our meetings with a invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would care to participate, please stand.
Let us pray. Our blessed Lord, how we thank you for being so merciful and kind to each and every one of us, Lord God. Thank you for giving us life and life more abundantly. Lord, we thank you for traveling grace to assemble ourselves here in this place today. Pray that all things will be done decent and in order. And Father, that everyone will be able to make their points of decisions, oh God, on this day. Lord, we just ask for peace and harmony among this body of believers. We ask now all of these blessings in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Humphrey and Ms. Hart. Okay, I'm going to start with our normal opening remarks and procedures. This will explain what to do if you want to speak and how much time you have. So again, welcome to our regularly scheduled public meeting of the Caddo Parish Planning and Zoning Commission. For public hearing agenda items, if you wish to make a public comment on an application, we have PZC comment slips at the speaker stand next to the podium right here in front of me. For future notification purposes, it is very important that you fill out a slip and drop it in the box when you come forward to speak. When you come to the podium, please state your full name, your mailing address, and your zip code before addressing the board. We will call each case on the agenda in order and hear first from the applicant, then those speaking in favor of the case. 10 minutes are allotted for the principal spokesperson and 3 minutes for each additional speaker. We will then hear from those wishing to speak against an application. Again, 10 minutes are allotted for the principal spokesperson and 3 minutes for each additional speaker. One representative of the application can then speak in rebuttal if desired. After hearing comments on each case, the board will then immediately deliberate and vote on that case before moving on to the next case on our agenda. After hearing comments on each case, the board will then please note that when the board is in deliberating, members of the public are not permitted to comment. Any members of the public may request a copy of the board's decision on a particular case by contacting our office at 318-673-6480 after 1 p.m. tomorrow, or by accessing our website at shreveportcaddompc.com. For consent agenda items and other agenda items not requiring a public hearing, public comments can be made upon request by filling out an MPC comment slip. If comments are requested for a specific agenda item, the chair will offer an opportunity for those comments prior to the commission taking action on the agenda item. All of the PZC board zoning recommendations are submitted to the Caddo Parish Commission for a final decision. Please note that it is your responsibility to contact the governing body about their procedures as related to the matter that you are concerned with. Copies of this document and the phone numbers to contact the governing bodies are available on the table next to the podium and in the entryway to this room. As a courtesy, please remember to turn off all cell phones while the MPC board is in session. This commission values your testimony and we appreciate your compliance with these guidelines. All right, that takes us to agenda item number 5, which is approval of our minutes from our February 22nd, 2023 meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
I move that we approve the minutes from February 22nd, 2023.
All right, motion to approve by Mr. Brown. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Humphrey. Ready to vote, please? All right, 6-0 on approval of the minutes from the February 22nd meeting. All right, that takes us to our first, that takes us to our consent agenda item number 6, case number 23-1 SP subdivision plat. The applicant is Jimmy Carter. Do we have anybody here that would like to speak on the consent agenda? Okay, if not, what is the board's recommendation for this application?
I'll make a motion that we approve the application for a 3-lot subdivision.
All right, we have a recommendation for approval from Mr. Marsheed. Do we have a second?
Second.
Ms. Hart, second. We're ready to vote. All right, case number 6 is recommended approval on a 6-0. That takes us to our scheduled public hearings. Agenda item number 7, case number 22-37-P. That's a plan unit development and site plan for RALEY and Associates. Do we have the primary spokesperson for this application?
Hey, good afternoon. I'm Michael Kelsch with RALEY and Associates, 4913 Shed Road, Bossier City, 71111. I'm the engineer on the project here representing the developer. And so this is just a rezoning case. We're trying to get C1 PUD for a contractor office/warehouse on Wallace Lake Road, and we're here to answer any questions.
Okay, do we have any questions for Mr. Kelsch? No questions? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kelsch.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else here that would like to speak in favor of the application? All right, we have someone coming forward.
Hey, I'm Sean Pendleton, owner of Caddo Electric. We would be the people building, making the development. We're just an electrical contractor, nothing really special. We currently have a building in Shreveport, just moving a little further out and a little closer to where I live. So.
Okay. Do we have any questions for Mr. Belton? Yeah, Mr. Belton. I'm sorry.
Pendleton.
Yes.
Yep.
I do.
Pendleton, okay.
The MPC staff has made some recommendations. Would you like to elaborate on your feelings about what they've said about things like fence height, landscaping, the location of the parking, and the facade of the building?
Sure. Yeah, we met with them over a voice call the other day. They made the recommendations. We're, willing to do whatever they're really asking for. We're not trying to build a piece of junk. We're trying to build something nice that's going to be, presentable. So the 8-foot fence was fine. We also said that we were going to move it back off the road, which that was appealing to people. So pretty much everything that was said was already in our plan anyway.
So you're okay with moving the parking to the rear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I know is there any more, some more questions with this applicant? You're good? Okay.
I'm good.
Okay. All right, so, so you're aware of the stipulations on the enhanced buffering and you're, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, just want to make sure.
Yep.
All right. All right, thank you.
All right.
Is there anybody else that would like to come forward in support of this application?
John Lorick, 9242 LOB Road. I'm the commercial realtor that represents the developer on and the seller on this particular piece of property. My client is looking at building $1 million facility. The area there has businesses, as you're aware. On Wallace Lake Road, it also has a lot of less desirable properties, some that are abandoned. We had the MPP meeting. It was a little hostile, but the area there is a mixed area. You have approved other businesses there. My client's willing to comply with whatever zoning asks for. The neighboring property, and Mr. Thornton's here, he is the main one that's in opposition. At our MPP meeting, there was a lot of people that were not within the 1,500-foot notification radius. The neighbor business is chartered there, and you may or may not have a copy. I did let the MPC have this, but Mr. Thornton's construction company is chartered and in good standings as a business and located at 9846 Wallace Lake Road, right next to it. And business is conducted there. I do have some photos if you'd like to see some of those of business coming in and out. Want to be good neighbors. I live in the area myself, and I certainly want it to be nice and conducive. As you know, Southern Loop is building up like crazy, and we have to encourage those tax bases and that income source in order to see our communities move and thrive. I don't think that we're asking for anything unique by any means, other than to build a beautiful building there and create a great facility and a tax base for Caddo Parish. So we certainly appreciate your approval of this. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the speaker? Okay, I have one for you.
Yes, ma'am.
So the enhanced improvements, there are some things that can be done to make this property more in standing, if you will, with the rural area, because it is abutted by
Right.
residential areas, residential properties. What is your opinion on enhancements such as a porch cover, doing something different maybe that looks more like a home with the gable, things of that nature?
My client's willing to work with the requests of zoning and the MPC. I mean, that's the reason we had the MPP meeting, obviously, was to try to get that input. The only input we got was we're going to be opposed to anything, and there's a history of that. But we want to do what complies and what is aesthetically part of the community. And when it's done and all, I mean, you don't want to build an ugly $1 million building, that's for sure. So, you know, my client is willing to go the extra mile. We solicited those requests, but we didn't get anything other than we're just opposed to it.
All right, thank you. Any more questions? No?
I do appreciate it. Thank you all
Okay,
so much
thank you for your time. Appreciate you coming in. Okay, do we have anybody else that would like to speak in favor of the application? All right, seeing none, do we have, oh, okay, sorry. Hi.
I bet I'm supposed to give my name and address, is that
You are,
correct?
yes, sir.
David Alvis, 1069 St. Francis Way, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71106. I guess I'm just here, I actually own the land, and I've owned it for quite a few years. And I'm selling the land because I actually bought some land somewhere else. But I live out that way. I live in the back gate of Southern Trace, right down the road. I have quite a few businesses in the area. And if you come to any of my restaurants, I'll tell you, we go the extra length always to make them nice, clean, neat, and we protect the area all the way around us, which is the same as the gentleman purchasing this land is willing to do, and has been over backwards to do it. Our next door neighbor I've known for a long time, and as he said, if we were building Disney World next door, he said he would be opposed to it. But we're not building Disney World. We're not building a junkyard. We're not building a storage building. Actually, we aren't building anything. The gentleman behind it is. He's gone to great lengths to move the property back. I mean, the building is going to be built back 300 feet. I think the property's, it's about 700 feet deep, so he's kind of tried to move it back, and he's been willing to, make any concessions to make the property look nice and just to run a good business. There's a whole lot of junk on Wallace Lake Road. I mean, a lot. And I drive up and down that road most every day. And this is not going to be part of the junk. It's going to be a really beautiful building, great landscaping. Just going to go to a lot of effort to make it look nice. So, I guess that's all I wanted to say. I'm definitely for it. I live there. I live right down the road. I think it'd be a great addition to the area, and that's just kind of what I wanted to say, I think.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Do we have any questions for Mr. Alvis? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor of the application? All right, seeing none, is there anybody here that would like to be the primary spokesperson against the application? All right. Come forward, please. All right.
My name is Steve Thornton, 9846 Wallace Lake Road. I am the neighbor we're talking about, the Thornton. First of all, he said they moved the property, the building back 300 feet. Well, I moved my house back 300 feet for a simple reason. The whole front is a swamp. You can't build up there. He makes it sound like they really did went to great heights to move it. But anyway, we don't care who's coming in there as much as it being commercial, period. Like I talked to these people and I said, just tell me where it can improve my property if they build commercial next door, and no one can tell me that. And David's right. I did say I don't care if you build in Disney World next door. I'm opposed to a commercial site. Okay, we went to the meeting with the realtor and Sean Pendleton, who is the builder, and we were going to discuss what he could do to make the property presentable. And really, we never talked to that because Mr. Alvis just told me, and told me straight up, witnesses were there, that, it could end up being a mobile home park there, or it could be 12 Section 8 houses, and I don't like being threatened. And then him and the realtor both questioned me about my two-car garage being too close to the property line. And then they questioned me about me keeping my equipment there, which I do own a construction company. And it is housed in Stonewall, Louisiana. I rent a yard, but I do bring some home once in a while, a trailer or something like that. My office is in my house. My wife keeps my books, so we got a little 10-by-10 office, and that's our address. But I don't like being threatened, and we don't, we just don't want commercial. We're not saying anything against the people that are trying to build there. And the reason there's not more people here today, only one person got a letter of this meeting. I didn't get a letter again. My son didn't get a letter. My daughter didn't get a letter. Pat Cobb next door to me didn't get a letter. The actual one letter came out to Mr. Joe Thompson, and he's even out of the 1,500-foot rim of construction. Okay, they didn't put a sign up. And I called them about it yesterday. Found the sign down the road in front of a piece of property that's nothing but woods, so nobody even thinks about that. So really, we've got a lot of people missing today because they didn't even know we were having it. you know, and I don't know why we didn't get letters. You and I discussed it before, and I did get a letter for the meeting to go to the realtor, but I didn't get a meeting. We all just found out about this probably in the last 2 or 3 days. So I don't know. You know, I'm not much of a spokesman, but that's about all I've got. We're just all opposed to it strictly for the commercial aspect. It's just a spot zoning that we don't care to have. And you can go a mile in either direction. You got Southern Loop that is completely full of commercial spots, and Slack would love to see somebody come out to their park and build. So there's opportunities. It's not like this is the last little piece of land, you know, that they can get. But I mean, that's all I've got. If y'all got any questions you need to ask me.
Okay, Mr. Thornton, if you will hold on just a second. Mr. Clark, Mr. Thornton made a couple comments. One about he's worried about a mobile home coming in there in Section 8 housing. Can you comment on this zoning in relation to any possibility of that happening?
This is an RA PUD, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I was trying to find the location of the sign because we wanted to ensure that signs were properly installed, and evidently we missed the boat again. But I don't, the RA on an acre of land, by right you can have a manufactured home. That's just Caddo Parish Code of Ordinance.
Sure, I understand. Sure.
I don't, you know, if you wanted to do a mobile home park or mobile home subdivision, that would require rezoning of the property in order to do those things. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yes, I just wanted to make sure that, you know, the information is concise and clear, and that everybody here knows what can be done.
And in response to his question, it appears that as he said, the sign was placed in front of a undeveloped wooded area and not the actual location of the rezoning. We're going to look at very closely going forward our ability to place adequate signage. We've gotten in cases where we have large tracts of land and we don't place but one sign on the whole development, and sometimes we have 2 frontages and we don't place signs on both frontages of the property. So we're going to, based on our conversations, we are revamping our process of identification because the ordinance requires that we place signage on property that's being rezoned. And again, I don't like having cake in my face. I won't say mud, I'll say cake. We owe you an apology. And as executive director, I apologize for this mistake.
Yes, I understand.
Okay, Mr. Ben, can you roll down to the signs, the posted signs on your, thank you. Okay, and there's also another one in the packet that shows a gate, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get a clarification and an understanding of, okay, is that the same, are these 2 different properties? What?
Not the property that's in.
across the street.
Across the street, okay.
Here's the
But,
This is also, this particular one here is a property, you have a house there that belongs to Joe Giglio, and the property that we're talking about is on the south side.
okay.
The sign was placed on the north side of the property, somebody else's property. I don't.
The inspectors, Madam Chair, attempt to place signs to the north, to the south, and the east and the west of the property. Not signs, but they make these pictures are taken of properties in those different areas. So you will have pictures of properties to the north and the south and east and west in each one of your cases, just to show you and give you a better location of what's actually out there.
Okay, so the sign was not, I hear what you're saying, it was not put on the right place. Okay. Do we have any more questions for Mr. Thornton? Comments? Go ahead, Ms. Green.
Yes.
Go ahead. Go ahead, you're up, Ms. Green.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Thornton, Ms. Green has a question for you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I hear you very clearly that you represent your community, and I hear you very clearly that you don't want any commercial activity or development. And I hear you. But I also hear the word any. So what could be a compromise if there was such?
Well, I can't speak for everyone within that 1,500. For me, there would be no compromise. Because we're having problems down the road right now with a gentleman he's out of this 1,500 foot, but it's been ongoing, I think, Mike, about a year now. He's wanting to put food trucks, different things like that in there, you know, and it's just not a good situation. So how are we going to say okay to this application, and he's going to come up and say, well, you let them go. Why can't I do it? And then you start the ball rolling. And I don't understand, it's been a year, and they finally made him dig his culverts up, but they can't seem to get him to clean his property up or move anything, you know. So that's what we're all worried about. Once you let that commercial place in there, which this says C4, and I understand it was supposed to go to C1, if I'm not mistaken.
It's C1.
Okay.
I don't know why it says.
I just looked
that's
at
the
that.
one.
Something else,
Yeah.
but it
The
is
original
C1.
application was C4.
Sure. And like I said, had we not got letters, you know, without letters, we don't know when this meeting's coming. We tried to contact everybody we could, but people are out of town, they're gone, and I don't know why we didn't get letters. We did get them for the, you know, for what I call the realtor meeting, where he was gonna show us what they could do to improve the land, but Sean Pendleton really never got a chance to do that because Thornton was arguing too much about the threats and stuff. I mean, I'll admit it, I don't want it there, you know. But when he starts threatening me with my buildings are too close to the property line and I have a construction yard in my backyard, no, it don't happen. You know, it's just like I told him, I'm not zoned for commercial. Somebody from here pulled up to me and said, you gotta go. One trailer or two trailers I got back there or whatever, I'll move it, you know. But I just don't like idle threats. I mean, I really don't.
Where do you live? Show me on this map.
See the 3 blocks below the block that's blocked out, right? This is me, this is my daughter, and this is my son. And this is Pat Cobb right here. None of us in this area here got a letter at all about this meeting.
Now, you have behind your house, your daughter's house, and the third person, a right-of-way? Is that what
I'm sorry, say it again, I didn't
There's a
hear.
right-of-way behind your property, between your property and the proposed, I thought there was a,
It's on the other side.
on the north
It's
side.
on the north side.
Yeah, on the north side. Right, there is a road on the north side that goes back to a oil location.
yeah, that's what I'm,
But I think that's not on the said property. That could be on Giglio property. I'm not sure. I've never seen it, never seen them staked it or anything, till now anyway.
Yeah, those houses there.
that's right here. Okay, all right, any more questions for the speaker? Okay, go ahead, Jake.
Mr. Thornton,
Mm-hmm.
so I know you're totally against the commercial, but you know, would you even be able to notice it's there if he's putting all these shrubs and trees up and the facade,
Well, you know,
he's gonna do it to where it looks like a house? Because I mean, from my stand, where I stand on stuff, I kind of feel like people should be able to do what they want on their property within reason.
I understand.
You know, like if you want to park your trailer on your property, I really don't have a problem with that. And I know the code might say something different.
Sure.
But I believe, you know, that, you know, landowners should try to work these things out and, you know, be neighborly. And that's why I was hoping that when y'all sat down that y'all could come up with something that would work. And I know you're just totally against it, but I mean, how's that fair to the individual that wants to sell the property if he's wanting to do that? Because normally what I know with RA is, it's rural agricultural, and it's kind of a zoning that's set right now until this area develops. And as it starts to develop, you know, you get zoned out of that, out of the RA. It might become commercial. It could become a subdivision. And that's just kind of what it's for, you know? And I don't know, Wallace Lake is getting busy. I mean, I don't see him adding that much traffic. I see that he's trying to do things so that you won't even notice it's there. I mean, I'm just trying to see why we can't put something together that makes both of you guys happy. And I know that there might just be some bad blood there, but I mean, why can't we come to the table
No,
on
it's not
this?
bad blood. That's the wrong thing. I mean, really not. I'm not against Mr. Alvis. I'm not against Sean Pendleton or any of those guys, just against commercial. You know, I mean, as far as bad blood, well, you know, we're not gonna leave here sending each other Christmas gifts, that's for sure. But let me go back 20 years. I know it's a way back, but when I bought this 3 acres, and I agree with you, I possibly should be able to do what I want to on that 3 acres as long as it's legal.
Yes, sir.
You know, well, this very people here, not y'all, of course, in this room, came out and would not permit but one house on that 3 acres. I wanted to build my daughter a house on the back and me on the front. And I already had my daughter's house built because we got a permit for that. And then the whole MPC rides out in a van, rides down my road, and comes back and decides only one house. But now I did finally, after running around getting my blue jeans wore off my knees begging, I did get my house permitted, you know.
Yes, sir.
But I just don't understand why I can't even build 2 houses on 3 acres, but you can put a whole commercial lot on it.
Well, I mean, things are things we're trying to change things up
Sure,
here,
well, I
and we're
understand.
trying to, you know,
But
believe
and
in
let me
people
ask
being
you a
able
fair,
to
let me
use
ask you
their
a fair
property.
question.
Yes,
I
sir.
understand. Mr. Brown, I don't mean to cut you off.
Yes,
I'm not
sir.
trying
Go
to do
ahead.
that. I'm not a speaker, and I'm nervous as a cat on a hot tin roof in front of everybody looking at me right now. But here's the thing. It's, first of all, a lot more people oppose this than what's here. We didn't even know this meeting was happening. I come straight from work. That's why I look like I do. You know, I mean, no one got letters. I don't understand that. And when we met with Sean, and somebody said, yeah, you're going to have to build a fence down the property. Man, he was floored. Well, nobody told me I got to build a fence. Nobody told me I got to put trees. Nobody told me. And, you know, as far as moving it back 300 foot, unless he was going to put a big culvert and fill in a bunch of ditch, he'd have had to put it back 300 foot. You know, so, I mean, it all sounds good, but I'm just, you know, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I'm just against it. You know.
Well, I have a question for you, Mr. Thornton. What is the biggest sticking point? I understand you're not for it, but what is the one thing or 2 things that you are most concerned with if this zoning was to change and this be granted or be recommended for approval? What is it as a homeowner and someone residing in their peaceful little part of the world, because I live in the rural area as well, so I understand where you're coming from. But what is the top 2 things that you're most concerned with on this request?
Right. My top concern is property value.
Okay.
Okay, let's say, I mean, I don't know what my house is worth. I haven't had it appraised in a long time. But, and I asked the realtor, I've asked other people, and of course I ask everybody in this room. If they zone commercial next to me, how is that gonna affect my property? If I decide I need to sell my house, and everybody go, oh, we got a, you know, commercial property next door. We don't want to buy this place. You know, I mean, I don't have a mansion, but I don't have a dog either, you know, but, and I understand he's putting it there to save money. You know, I get it. I know that land right there is cheaper than in town or Slack Park, and a lot cheaper than on Overton Brooks. But hey, the way I look at it, it's also cheaper than Frierson, Louisiana. If you're looking for cheap, go out there. But I just don't care to have a commercial property. I don't have any problem with the people that's wanting to move here.
So just know this, I mean, this is why I asked Mr. Clark to give the clarification earlier so that we all understood exactly what could be done by right as it's zoned right now. Do you think it would be better on your property value to have a manufactured home in there or a commercial property? I mean, this is
possibly not. I mean, no, I understand. I get it. I know where you're coming. No, but you know, what can I say?
Well, and that is something that someone could do right now, the way it's zoned, and bet there's not a person here that would argue that if you're in a brick home, in a nice brick home, apparently,
Sure.
that it wouldn't devalue your property to have that beside you.
And it would, yeah.
So these are things that we consider when we look at these applications, especially when it comes to property value. What would be the other one? What would be at the other top? Traffic?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I guess, and Sean may want to get up here and speak again. Traffic, well, I guess, would be a problem. Some of my constituents have brought that up. I'm thinking, and I can't talk for him. I know he's got bucket trucks. I know he's got a few larger trucks. I know he's probably got about 20 service trucks. Now, whether they're all at the yard every day or not, I don't know. I don't have a clue.
Okay. All right, do we have any more questions for Mr. Thornton? Okay. All right, Mr. Thornton, thank you.
Thank you.
No need to be nervous. We're here with you. We're just common folk too, so.
Okay.
All right, is there anybody else here that'd like to speak in opposition of the application? All right, now, the next post, this is 3 minutes now, okay?
Hi, my name is Jerome Nicholas, 9922 Wallace Lake Road. What I wanted to point out in opposition to this is if you look at the overall direction that development is going on Wallace Lake Road, you'll see the Grove, you'll see Mr. Thornton's houses, you'll see the Lamberts, Thompson's, our house. All of these houses have been built within the last 25 years with the expectation that we're living in a large lot or rural residential area. If you bring in commercial to this area, it makes no sense at all. If you look at the development from Mayo Road, which is the next road north, intersecting Wallace Lake Road all the way south to the southern loop, all of that is residential. The big exception is there's I believe it's a 68-acre property at the corner of Wallace Lake Road and Overton Brooks, and that's right now it's farmland. Okay? I understand that it's being considered for development for residential. So if you look at the overall area, all of that is residential, and if you bring one commercial development in there, then you're going to cause a domino effect that just allows the next guy to say, well, he's commercial, I want commercial, and pretty soon you have ruined all of our property values for the sake of one person. Now, I understand your argument that everybody should be able to do what they want to with their property, but you can also not allow one person to damage several other people's property values. And this, to me, just speaks of nothing but spot zoning. It just makes no sense at all when you look at the broader area of Wallace Lake Road from Mayo all the way down to Southern Loop.
Okay. Do we have any questions for the speaker? Okay.
And one more point I would like to make, Mr. Thornton mentioned that the MPC came down in a van 20 years ago and looked at his property. I don't know if you all have looked at this, but you have, if you go down there and look, you have several nice homes and developments that are going in the direction of nice residential properties. And if you put this commercial in there, you're just going to kill that.
Okay.
Anything else?
Okay. I think no questions? Okay, thank you. Okay, is there anybody else here that'd like to speak in opposition? Okay, come on up.
My name is Mary Guy, and at 235 Overton Brooks Road, which I'm right around the corner. The only thing I'd like to point out is, if you were setting this building next to Southern Trace, everybody from Southern Trace would be here and you wouldn't do it. What's different than Mr. Thornton's property? There's no difference. That's his home and he doesn't want a piece of commercial property there. You wouldn't set this building next to Southern Trace. Don't do it to Mr. Thornton.
Do we have any questions for the speaker? No? Okay, thank you. Anybody else like to come forward in opposition? Come on up.
Hello, my name is Terry Williams. I was not planning on coming up here today.
Ms. Williams, can you give us your address, please, for the record?
9926 Wallace Lake Road.
Thank you.
In Shreveport, 71106. And I would like to, I'm sure you were updated on our meeting that we had at RE/MAX. Is that correct? That we met on as far as the opposing and opposed?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we were told there was an NPP. Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Yes,
okay, okay. And it was asked by Mr. Thornton if the owner of the property and/or the electrical company, you know, would like to buy his property. And they both immediately, no, we would not want to live next to a commercial. With that being said, there were a lot of other things and threatening remarks by the owner of the property. The electrical company owner just put his head down. I wanted that out there so everybody could hear that. As far as a commercial company going into a nice area, not all nice, I have to say. There have been problems, but there are existing businesses that I know of too that have been reported to MPC for a fact, and not anything has been done. Not anything, Mr. Burke, nothing. Okay? And they've just rode. They're just riding. And the place is getting overwhelmed with big, huge equipment. And even one of y'all's workers have gone to this place and called in to report it theirself. And step out of it. He works for MPC. Okay? And so I'm saying this all because if we're fighting it around y'all and it's getting told to y'all, y'all aren't helping us, and we're residential. That's one of my biggest things there. If I'm uncompliant, I'm going to do whatever it takes to become compliant, to remain there. I've had this property since the early 80s, and I would like to retire there. And I lost my job over COVID in nursing, so I'm in between that to make a living. And I just feel like this is gonna just knock me out. I don't have a lot of money. I don't own businesses. I don't run businesses at my home. And my husband breaks his back every day just to stay out there. As far as the commercial company being built next to Mr. Thornton, I can honestly say some of the things that y'all asked him about as far as what would bother me or what would be the top. Well, one of them was what Mr. Thornton said as far as property value. And nobody has been able to answer that question 100%. Or given it to him in writing, that it's not going to affect his property value. In an electrical company, if you drive by an electrical company you don't see a nice, pretty facility. If you look to the side of it or to the back of it, you see big, huge wheels with electrical wiring on it. Our roads are going to be tore up for the
Ma'am?
18-wheelers coming in and unloading and loading.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close up. Your time's expired, so if you'll go ahead and close up.
Oh, of
Okay,
course.
thank you.
Of course it did.
Well,
Thank you.
All right, do we have anybody else here that would like to speak in opposition?
Sir.
I apologize for not putting my name on the list. I didn't plan to say anything.
That's okay, come forward. You can fill this
I'm
slip
Mike
out.
Thompson. I reside at 9900 Wallace Lake Road. There are a number of people like to stand up as opposing this. Plus, we've got a folder full of letters. And I'm the one that's fighting the food truck parked just tied up next door to me. And like they've said, if you open this up for debate and you grant them this permit, I'm gonna have a food truck next door to my property. We've been fighting this for over a year with no success so far, outside of it going to court and be postponed. And we made a home out here, my wife and I, when we retired, in the country. Well, it's growing, sure it's growing. There's nothing wrong with that. But a commercial business, we're just trying to protect the area from Southern Loop to Overton Brooks Road, small section of Wallace Lake Road. And it's not being built next to you. And like I say, we're all in the same boat. We're not against growth. Residential's fine. I'd help them build a house if they needed to. But a commercial business, it's just, there's other places that would fit in better with the community than where we live. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to come forward in opposition? Okay, seeing none, the applicant has the option for rebuttal if they would like to come back to the podium.
All right. I just wanted to clarify a few things. Mr. Steve, we've known each other for a very long time. We do business together. He's mentioned that we might have had 20 service trucks. We do not. We work about 4 service trucks. Everybody else reports to a job. So the traffic, I really feel like, is minimal. The bucket truck, that is something that we do have. In our proposal that we tried to present the last time, there was covered parking in the back. I think it shows it on that drawing if it's here, but covered parking in the back with covered sides so that the bucket truck and whatnot wasn't seen. The fence, I don't know where the confusion was there. We always intended on putting a fence, so I don't know where we got confused there, but that was always the intention. You know, we're trying to build something nice. This food truck that keeps coming up, I don't feel like they're trying to invest $1 million in the parish. So I feel like that's a pretty strong leg for everybody to stand on with the development that we're trying to do, as opposed to a business that is going to be unfavorable to the community. So, you know, I understand there's some upset people, and I'm sorry about that, but it really is a very small commercial business with minimal traffic, and we're not trying to build a dump. I mean, we're trying to build something nice. So, I really think that's all I got to say. I just wanted to clarify those couple of items. So,
Do we have any questions for this applicant?
I do.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Green.
yes, ma'am.
Help me. What type of commercial activity is going to come out of this building?
So we have a service company that, you know, does as small stuff as come to your house and change a plug or replace a ceiling fan. We also do a lot of work in a manufacturing facility that's out of this city. It's in Minden, that we employ a lot of people at, which also never come to our office. And then we do construction, just normal, everyday construction, build buildings, schools, lighting retrofits, whatnot.
So how much of outside traffic or outside people come in there?
So we do have delivery trucks that come. but they're not big 18-wheeler trucks. We do have the occasional 18-wheeler. I mean, I can't say that that doesn't happen. But most of them are van-type delivery trucks from supply houses. You know, they drop off panels or, you know, electrical material. And then they're no bigger than a UPS truck or a FedEx truck for sure. So, which everybody has those.
So it's not an 18-wheeler then, right?
No, I mean, has there been 18-wheelers that deliver stuff to us? Absolutely. But, I mean, it's not an everyday thing by no means. I would say once a week tops, probably more like twice a month.
Okay.
And my last question is, let's address the property values just very briefly, okay? I'm not saying it would lower property value. I'm not saying that it would increase property value, but just focus on that for just a moment, please, so we can,
Sure.
your opinion.
Well, so my opinion is commercial property is more expensive. I own quite a bit of it. And they mentioned the slack area right there is selling for about $17 a foot. You do the math, it's a whole lot of money. Our property that we are purchasing around the city, the other properties that we have purchased, they're all selling for that, you know, $17 to $12 a foot range. I know on Southern Loop it's $20 a foot. So I feel like we are really increasing their value. But again, I'm an electrical contractor, so that's, you know, that's not for me to determine.
And thank you very kindly. I certainly respect your profession, but I had to bring that question up because those concerns do stand on the floor.
Sure.
Thank you.
Mr. Rashid?
Yeah, this is a follow-up on that. It appears that those that are objecting to this, one of their primary concerns is property value. You just made a note about property value, which has nothing to do with their property. That's the piece of property you're talking about buying. I believe you have a due diligence to your future neighbors if you buy that piece of property to show them that it will not impact that. And we've seen no evidence that you've provided anything that shows that it will not devalue their property.
Can I ask what you suggest there?
What's that?
Can I ask what you suggest?
Well, there are a lot of people that are in the real estate business in this community, and they can tell you what neighboring commercial property does to adjacent residential property. So I'm sure there's plenty examples within the community. I'm not an expert in real estate, so I can't give you any advice on that.
I understand. Yeah, I mean, that's fine. But that, again, that's someone else's opinion. That's not facts. So that's, you know, I try to tell y'all people the truth. So I don't know how I could go and solicit somebody to tell them something that may or may not be true. That's not very credible to me.
Okay, any more questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you. Mr. Clark, before we start deliberation, I would like, if at all possible, because it's something I heard from one of the speakers for this lady, I'm sorry ma'am, I don't remember your name, for you to possibly get with Mr. Clark regarding whatever is going on with the issues that you brought up at the podium.
Oh, sure.
Okay,
I
and
worked with him before.
okay.
I gave him kudos at our last
Okay,
meeting.
so if y'all could just get together, post-meeting or interim meeting, whatever, just slide over and see what Mr. Clark can do and see if he can help you with your concerns that exist outside of this application, the ones that you mentioned, okay? Because I'd like to get that addressed for you. That's something that we can facilitate here, okay? All right. Okay, so board, we're at a point where we need, I need to know what motion's going to be made here. The recommendation for this application, just because we've been through a lot, is for recommendation of approval based on future land use and some things that are in the packet, which we saw.
I'd like to make a statement for.
Okay.
the historical use of this property along Wallace Lake Road has been residential, clearly, for a very long time. The current development of this property is moving additional new residential. The location of the lot that the person wishes to buy is a bullseye in the middle of current residential and future residential development. It's nothing more than spot zoning, and I don't think this body should accept spot zoning.
All right. Any more? Well, okay, before we deliberate, I need to know we need to get a motion first, and then we can open up for discussion with the board. So we need to make sure we stay within the procedures here. So what is the preference of this board? I need a motion one way or the other on this application.
Well, I'll start off with making a motion that we deny the application.
Okay, we have a motion for Mr. Marshev to deny. Do we have a second?
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to defer, and here's why I say. I would like to give the benefit to the residents that live there, because if I lived in that area, I would want to know what was going to happen with my property value. So if the commercial owner or desiring to build commercial property in their area do the due diligence to assure that the residents of the community property value will not be decreased. And you do that with professionals, and that with professional land appraisals. Then with that information, come back to this board and present that information, so that will assure the residents of that area that they do not have to worry about their property being devalued. That's my motion.
I second that motion.
Okay, hold on just a second.
I'll pull my motion
Okay.
in support of it.
Do we have to have a second to remove the motion? Okay, I second the retraction of the first motion by Mr. Marshev. So the first motion's out. You know, I'm sorry, sometimes this is like, there's so many rules here. Okay, Mr. Humphrey.
Yes.
You're making a motion, make sure I understand, you're making a motion to defer the case with instructions to the applicant that they,
Provide
now-
evidence and proof
evidence.
with a licensed appraiser.
I think we had one at the podium, did we not? Okay, so that they can bring data back to this board that will help us to deliberate in a more intelligent manner on what will happen using the information, because it seems like the biggest issue here is the property value.
Correct.
So that some research, legitimate research, can be done to show that it does not have, we just need to know what that research shows,
That
is
it will
what you're
not
asking.
negatively impact their property
Would
value.
not negatively impact, okay. All right, so, hold on. Oh, okay. So I have, the motion is to defer. I had a second by Mr. Brown to defer. Okay, now, let's open for discussion.
Yes.
Okay, so I have to get there. Okay.
Mr. Clark,
Yes, ma'am.
assuring the property values, is that something that can be attained by your department?
No, ma'am, we're not
Thank
real
you very
estate
kindly.
professionals.
Thank you.
Okay.
We
Okay.
have long
Can't do that.
tried to get a budget from the city council and the Caddo Parish Commission to where we could retain an appraiser to give ideas, they can't guarantee, but to give ideas of the effect that developments will have of abutting properties. We have not quite got to that point yet, but we're still trying to get these bodies to do those things.
It comes up repeatedly, Mr. Clark, you're right, and it's certainly something that we hear, that it would be nice to have that information as part of the packet, but there's a process for everything. Okay, so we have a motion to defer, a second to defer.
And Madam Chair, let me just add,
Okay.
for future references, that will help this board to make that decision if this is done.
That's what I was,
Now, I want to make sure that the person that does this research on property values is independent third-party independent is not involved in the sale or purchase of this piece of property.
Okay, now, I'm not sure that we can order that from this board, Mr. Bernstein, but, I mean, is there some type of just minimum certification that we can require for this appraisal, or this?
I think what you could do there is, of course, certainly with the appropriate licensure, and then the board, if there would take into consideration, if there was a connection, that would go to more to the weight of the appraisal, rather than, I think, setting a stipulation of that nature. That would be my suggestion.
I mean, I'm almost.
So the applicant would be well served by getting one where there's not that potential.
Right. I mean, it almost would, we can't, I don't think we can order that from here, but it would almost really be good to see it from both sides, from the people that are opposing it and the people that want it. So that way you could be independent, each one would, they could come to the middle on what each appraiser says about this. So we're gonna, okay, go ahead,
May
Ms.
I make
Green.
one more discussion point? And I don't know if I make that to Mr. Clark or make it outwardly. In times past, now I'm still young, okay? But in times past, Mr. Bernstein, we had what we called a drive-by appraisal. Some of you all may be familiar with that. And basically, it looked at the values of, you know, what the potential value of this building or this operation could produce. It may not justify a full certification, but maybe in the, you know, it could bring some kind of, based on this information, but not totally scientific data. Is that realistically to ask the applicant, Mr. Bernstein? Or?
I think the problem there is that if you don't specify minimum qualification, then you're opening yourself up to somebody that doesn't have a background in that. So that, I think it would be better to ask that opinion be based by somebody that's qualified.
Yeah, and I'm speaking in many years past, behind us, just few, okay. That person or persons were qualified. Now, I know appraiser guidelines have drastically changed over the decade or so, but would it be something that you would be interested in, applicant, just to have, would that help moving forward?
If I may, Madam Chair.
Yeah, yes, sir, go ahead.
I think that this is something that you might want to consider in new business at the end of this hearing, whether or not we study methods and means of trying to, through a code text amendment, come up with ways to either require applicants to have appraisals that are presented in rezoning cases or something to that nature. I think that going on the fly that right now may not be the best course of action for you.
And I'm not using the word require, I'm just using the word good faith, because I'm into approving this based on the type of business. And I do hear the community as well. I want you to know I feel that and I hear that. But if there is no commercial development whatsoever, we're going to be back at this same subject. So to say none whatsoever, that's broad, very, very broad.
Okay, let me get back control.
My motion would be to approve.
Well, we
it.
got a motion on the floor, so we've got to, okay, hold on. We can't have more than one at a time. So if you want to make another motion, it'll have to be a substitute motion at this point. So you can substitute motion if you want to.
That's okay.
No, go ahead.
Let you finish your.
No, it's time for you to do that.
See, I'm gearing towards making the motion based on the committee's report, based on the recommendations that have been set forth here. And if any of that were to change, then the, community at large would certainly have their place back to this point. but based on what the committee had set forth in their due diligence, I'm based on the approve it as such.
Okay, okay, all right. I'm trying to figure out where we need to go from here. Let me get my thoughts together.
We need to address the current motion. on
Yes,
the
that's
motion.
right. We're gonna current motion to,
And not address anything else.
thank you,
Legal,
thank you.
qualified
Okay.
appraiser.
We have a motion on the floor, let me go back, by Mr. Humphrey, second by Mr. Brown, to postpone this case with the understanding that we're going to get some type of report from a qualified, licensed individual that's going to be provided as part of the packet and shared with everyone here to help mitigate the concerns of the property value being negatively impacted by this potential development. Does that make sense? Does everybody understand that?
But that's not my motion.
No, we're on their motion. We hadn't got your motion. Okay. We have, all right, so.
Second.
You said, we got a second. Now do you want to make a substitute motion now? Because that's what's on the floor.
Because what we're doing is, it appears that we're asking for something that doesn't have precedence. I'm
Well-
not saying I'm against it, but you can't make
Okay.
a rule going forward.
Well, then make your substitute motion then. If you want to make another motion, then make a substitute motion, but you'll have to have a second for it to move forward. So what would your motion be?
To approve it.
Okay.
Based on the staff's assessment.
Okay.
And if anything deviated from that assessment, then the opposition would certainly have a place to come back.
Okay, so we have a substitute motion on the floor by Ms. Green to approve the application as submitted. Do we have a second for that? All right, not having a second, that motion fails. So now we revert back to the original motion to postpone by Mr. Humphrey, second by Mr. Brown. We're ready to vote on that. Could you bring up the portal, please? Motion to defer.
A motion to defer?
To defer, that's what
Oh, I'm
we're on
sorry.
now.
So we're gonna defer.
It's your vote. If you want to defer it, it's a yes.
But I don't understand what we're deferring.
The case till next month, till
And
future.
what do we want to come back to us?
What we've indicated.
What I said, we're asking for an eval on the impact of this project on the adjacent property by a licensed, certified person, either a realtor or an appraiser, to help them be comfortable with this. Okay.
Mr. Bernstein, is that something that's justifiable in this case?
Yeah, you can, well, the motion is to defer with a request that the applicant come bring back to you at the next meeting this information. That's a legitimate motion to defer, and so if the motion carries, then that would be what happens.
And are we asking for something that's reasonable?
Well, that's actually your call.
The motion is passed.
Well, on 5-1, we think it is. So if the applicant has any questions about what we're trying to do here, come see Mr. Clark.
We'd be happy to, and we will try to do a much better job this time, Madam Chair, of actually getting notifications out and placing signage at the correct location.
Mr. Clark, I'd like to make just a general statement. These cases are very difficult. We see both sides. We see the impact negatively. We see the impact positively. We see the intrusion to rural life, to changes in your neighborhood. Change is painful. Commercial creep is a problem. And we try to make the best decision we can from this board. We're people like y'all. We have properties in the same areas, that in the same jurisdiction that you're in. Every one of us live in a 5-mile zone, so we're bound by the same rules you are. You have architect up here, you have 2 contractors, you have a financial advisor, you have a 21-year Army veteran, and we have a landman. So there's a cross-section of people here. We try to do our best to look at these cases and make the best decision for everybody involved, both sides. It's very difficult. I cannot emphasize this too much as the chair of this board. This is why I like the NPP, because you are given 3 minutes to speak here in this chamber, or 10 minutes. When you're in a meeting on site, you're open-ended, you can ask questions, you can get, there a lot of misinformation goes around about projects. You can get to the actual facts of the case. So please understand that when we defer this, it's because we would, once again, would like for y'all to come back together and see if, it would be great if they provide a report and the report says your value's going up. Okay, so, I don't know what to expect. I'm not a realtor. I don't know what that outcome can be, but I ask that y'all keep an open mind about this so that we may be able to try to help both sides in this case like we do with every applicant that comes before us. So thank you for coming in for this case, and we're going to move on to the next case. And Mr. Clark, just for clarification, we're deferring that to next month's business. Is that correct?
That is correct. It will be on the next month's agenda.
Okay,
like
so
I
y'all
said.
know.
We will properly notify, hopefully notify this time, we will properly notify the citizens in the 1,500-foot radius.
Okay.
Thank you.
So y'all please just make sure, because not everything's perfect, and we do take it seriously that the notifications do not go out correctly. Okay, that's a big deal for me. I want people to know what's going on around them. So tell your neighbors, tell people in your neighborhood. We want everybody represented here, okay? All right.
That meeting will be April 26th, just for,
Okay,
just for the record.
Does our vote count? Does the residents of Wallace
Of course they do, and that's the reason why we deferred this, because we hear you loud and clear. We're trying to understand what can be done to be a middleman here. This is a mitigation issue. We're like the person in the middle, okay? So of course it counts. If it didn't, it potentially could be walking out of here with this being ruled, in their favor. So we are listening to you loud and clear. So we want this to be a positive thing for you. Don't want this to be a negative impact to your neighborhood, okay? All right. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next case, which is agenda item number 8, case number 23-2P, zoning map amendment, rezoning for Tamika Holloway. Do we have the primary? Yes, sir.
If you will, we did get notification from Ms. Holloway that she wanted to withdraw her application for the rezoning.
Okay.
We ask you to accept that withdrawal through a motion.
Okay,
and a
do we
vote.
have to move through, seeing if there's anyone here to speak for and against?
You may go through that.
Okay.
It does
All right.
look good.
Is there anybody here that would like to speak in support of this application? Okay, anybody here that would like to speak in opposition for this application? Okay, hearing none and seeing none.
I'll make a motion that we accept her offer to pull the application.
Okay, we have a motion from
Second.
Mr. Marshev to withdraw the application, a second by Mr. Humphrey.
No.
Jake, I'm sorry, Jake, okay, I didn't. All right, we're ready to vote.
You need to vote this.
Oh, I did. It was there. Okay, 6-0, the application will be removed from consideration. All right, that takes us to agenda item number 9, which is case 23-3P, zoning map amendment for RALEY and Associates for Boggy Bayou LLC. Do we have a primary spokesperson for this application? Thank you so much for being patient.
Sure. I've seen this movie before. My name's Reggie Lewis. I'm with RALEY and Associates, 4913 Shed Road, Bossier City, 71111. I'm here representing my client, collectively known as Boggy Bayou LLC. My client owns a 65-acre tract on Mansfield Road. They've owned this property for many, many, many years. It's been a recreational property, continues to be recreational property for them. And just recently, they have decided that there is some value to this road frontage of Mansfield Road. They've asked us to subdivide 2 acres, actually a little more than 2 acres, into 2 separate lots. And we've submitted a preliminary plat for that. I realize that's not why we're here today, but there is a plat in process with the MPC. The question before us today is in regards to zoning. We are requesting an I-1 zoning, and I was told by our client that both of these lots are prospective lots. Once it's all been approved, they're going to put them up for sale. And in the sake of full disclosure, we were told that one of the lots has a prospective buyer to put a data center on there, that they are into cryptocurrency. And so we've had a neighborhood meeting about this. I've listened to the residents' concerns. I don't know a lot, but I will just say this. I was told before coming here that the gentleman that's proposing this business was supposed to be at this meeting. I don't know him, never met him. I don't know if he's here or not, but regardless of that, I'm here to answer any questions y'all may have in regards to my application.
Okay, do we have any questions for for Mr. Lewis?
No, there. So currently, we don't really have zoning for that type of use currently.
That is correct. I discovered that when we submitted the application. It's my understanding, Mr. Brown, and perhaps Mr. Clark or one of the staff could speak to it, as this process is moving forward in this body, it's my understanding that the Caddo Commission is working through a code text amendment to add that classification to an I-1 zoning. Shreveport has a data center classification for an I-1 zoning. Caddo Parish does not. So it's my understanding that assuming we get approved, we're going to have to wait. We can't move forward until Caddo Commission does what they need to do with a code text amendment. So our ability to move forward, assuming approval, would hinge upon them being able to get that code changed and modified.
Right.
So you're correct.
Yeah, and so I mean that's kind of where, you know, we don't know what are they gonna do at I-1, are they gonna do at C3? You know, we don't know. I mean, it kind of seems to me like this is something that you should almost just wait on right now. We're not against it, this board's not, but you know, I mean, we get the parish commission to fix the code text amendments.
We could get a contingent approval today, so we wouldn't have to come back and do this all over again, just a contingent approval by this body, assuming that we get our zoning through the parish.
I think the way to answer that is that you would be going for the I-1 zoning today. Is that correct, Mr. Clark? And then under I-1, it would not be permissible as we sit right now for you to have this data center. That code text would have to come in, which crazy enough, it's number 13 on our agenda item today.
Oh, yeah?
Yes,
Okay.
so it's kind of the cart before the horse. So even if you got the I-1 and they wanted to put a data center there, until that code text amendment is approved by the Caddo Parish Commission, it would not be allowed by, right by use.
I fully understand that.
Yes, okay.
And I was just hoping to get a contingent approval today. And
Well,
knowing
it wouldn't be contingent, it would be we would either give you an I-1 recommendation or not, and
Okay.
then you would have to come back. Am I saying this right, Mr. Clark?
If you vote to recommend I-1,
right,
it goes on to the Caddo Parish Commission. If the Caddo Parish Commission approves the I-1 zoning, then all of the I-1 zonings in the Code of Ordinance would be allowed on that piece of property. And it sounds reasonable that they just want a data center, but I'm just sharing with you what you're doing, because you could approve, if you're so inclined, a data center in a commercial zoning district where there would be lighter uses. And if you look at the site, it's all basically residential land, as Mr. Marsheef has said, that's another example of possible spot zoning. And that's heavy spot zoning going from residential to industrial.
It makes more sense to us from here, of course, time is money, and I understand that, for the potential to be there for the zoning instead of just zoning the I-1, because as he's saying, if we give the I-1, anything that's allowed under I-1 could be open and operated there. And what we may find, which we've still yet to rule on today, is that we may end up with a C3,
yeah.
C3, and that might be what we allow the call centers under, which is a lighter zoning than I-1. So we don't want to get ahead of ourselves here and give it industrial and then figure out, we gave you a recommendation for industrial, which was subsequently, if it's approved by the commission, and then figure out it's the wrong zoning, you need a C3. See, that's the problem.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah,
And that makes sense to me. I'm on board with what you're telling me. And just for the record, we actually initially requested, I think, a C1 or C2 initially, but then we were told, number one, there's not even a use in the code for a data center. Then we figured out that Shreveport's data center is under I-1, so we just assumed logically that that's probably what the parish may do. And I asked for an amendment to an I-1, thinking, well, if that's what Shreveport did, maybe Caddo would do the same, kind of copy that. So we originally asked for a lesser zoning than I-1 in the beginning, until we found out Shreveport's data center was under the I-1, and that's why I went there. So, but I appreciate what you're saying. I fully understand what you're saying in regards to approving this.
The question then becomes, are you, as the person representing the applicant, are you amenable to a deferral on this so we can get the codes in place and more properly serve you and your customer?
I'm amenable to a deferral. Okay. I don't want to push the issue, so to speak, but I have one question. Maybe Mr. Clark could answer. Do you have a guess on when the commission will finally approve their code amendment change?
We'll find the dates out for you, right?
I don't know if it's 2 months or 6 months. I'm just wondering.
Oh, it's less, much less than that.
Go ahead, Mr. Bernstein. He's got his hands up over here.
To point out, the process starts here.
Yes, sir.
The process is not at the parish commission.
Okay.
The process starts here. If this body forwards an approval to the parish commission, it should go on the parish commission's agenda for introduction. Won't be the first meeting in April, or be the second meeting in April, which will be the third week, assuming April 20th. Yeah, assuming everything falls in place. April 20th, Mr. Brady says, will be when it comes up for introduction, and then it'll be available for passage at the meeting after that.
I appreciate that
clarification.
May,
Mr.
Thank you.
Lewis.
Yeah, so target May.
Okay, so the process starts with item 13.
Right.
Yeah.
It was odd that it came up and we had the code text on here at the same time.
That's fine.
Okay. All right, Mr. Marsheef, I think has a question.
I need a little bit more background information.
Okay.
You are speaking for the owner.
Yes.
Of the property. He wants to take a front portion of his property set it up as commercial, industrial, one of the two.
Yes.
And you mentioned 2 lots.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did this concept come up before a tenant or a purchaser of one of those 2 lots approached y'all? Or is that after?
I don't know, Mr. Marsheef, honestly. I don't know which came first, the prospective buyer or the idea for a subdivision plat.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. But it was always the owner's intent was to have 2 lots to be able to sell.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. And for the second lot, we have, from what my client tells me, there's no prospective buyer for that. But he owns 1,300 feet of road frontage on Mansfield Road, which is of certain value. And he's getting older and up in age, and he said, you know, I need to do something with this frontage. And so he started with a 2-lot plat.
Okay.
And so I don't know if he already knew about the prospective buyer or that came later. I'm not sure, honestly.
All right, any more questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, do we have anybody else here who'd like to speak in support of this application? Come on up.
Reggie, I'm Cable, by the way.
Oh, hey, nice to meet you.
Hello, my name's Kayvon Shardar. My address is 8029 Captain Dillon Court, Shreveport, Louisiana 71115. I am planning on opening up a data center at that location. Just a little background on myself. I'm an adjunct professor of computer science at LSU Shreveport. So we do want to bring jobs to the area, and we'll bring quite a bit of them as well, because we'll have data mining as well as other type of functions for the facility, especially as the technology keeps evolving. Those are things that I want you guys to keep in mind.
Okay, do we have any questions? No questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, do we have anybody else here that's in support of the application? In support? Okay, seeing none, do we have anybody here that would like to speak in opposition? Come on up.
How are y'all today?
We're good.
My name's Michael R. Dacey, 11734 Mansfield Road, 71047, Keithville, Louisiana. I'm right next door adjacent to this proposed site, and I don't think they're the data center they're claiming they're going to put there is actually a Bitcoin mine, which is a very noisy thing that is 24/7, that have been outlawed where they started, where they came from. They started out in China. They've outlawed them in the country completely. There are other states in this country that are trying to outlaw them right now because there is no guidelines that govern them. I think before you even consider this application for this, you need to do some research if you're looking out for the people in the community. These things are extremely noisy. They compare them to a jet engine that never stops on the tarmac. And the reason being is, for one, all the computers generate noise and vibration, and then all the cooling that they take to keep the computers cool generate a lot of noise and vibration that never stops.
Okay.
And everything around that site is residential. Where they're proposing that was a natural wetland, and everything behind that is a natural wetland. They built up that 2 acres right there in the last couple of years with debris and trash that they've hauled in there, concrete, timber, and dirt off of other construction sites to build it up enough just to have something to build on. But to build anything there, I think there's going to have to be a lot more fill brought in. But originally that was a wetland, and everything behind it is considered a natural wetland. You got a bayou right there, but also the Bitcoin mining takes up as much as 10,000 homes is in the amount of electricity per day, possibly more.
All right, do we have any questions for the speaker? No? Okay, thank you for coming in. Do we have anybody else here that would like to come forward that is against the application?
My name is Gloria Houston. I live at 3463 Fountain Blue Road, which is right around the corner from that. And based upon what my neighbor just said, what I've heard, I'm a retiree, disability retiree, and the noise would really be a problem for me. I live at a home where I want to rest, and I'm sure all of you, your home is your safety of rest. Late in the wee hours, you can hear the traffic already down Mansfield Road. So to bring that jet engine sound would be a problem for me, a great problem. Even the airport, with the airplanes that come in, the homes around there, they learned at some point they had to do something with their windows because of the sound. So I'm asking you all to take a look at those of us who live there, how we live in our place of safety and rest when you want to rest at home. So I'm highly opposed to it. And I'm not against jobs, us build in the community, but build jobs in an area that's not residential. Thank you.
Thank you. Hold on just a minute. Do we have any questions for the speaker? Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure nobody had a question.
And this
for
is
you.
my first time being here, and I'm just like, wow, what goes on? And it has really awakened me to know what really happened. So I'm hoping to know that we as residents should have someone really fighting for us, because this is scary.
Let me make a comment.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr.
Mr. Marshev would like to make a comment, ma'am.
That what we do here is only dealing with the issue of zoning. We do not have any say-so whatsoever what gets built on that piece of property, but I can tell you that the building code does have noise ordinance issues within it, and they must comply with those issues. So there's another body coming behind us that's going to address some of the things that y'all are concerned with.
It's just an eye-opening.
Yes.
And if I had the help and strength, I would encourage people to really get involved, because to really know who's really fighting for you in your community. Who do you have really representing you? Is it the money that makes the difference, or the people who live in the community makes the difference? But thank you.
Thank you.
All right, do we have anybody else here that's in opposition? Come forward, please. Hi.
Hi, I'm Kathy Gojohn. I live at 9980 Mansfield Road, Keithville, Louisiana.
Can you pull the mic down just a little bit so we can hear you? Okay, all right, well, never mind. That's a good thought.
Repeat that. Do you want me to repeat my?
No, it's okay, go ahead.
Oh, can my son come up as well?
One at a time, so.
Oh, okay. I'm opposed and I object to this Bitcoin operation for some of the same reasons. They brought up the noise complaints, and the people are trying to get rid of the ones they have built. We did a little research and found like people that live by Niagara Falls can't even hear the Niagara Falls over the Bitcoin noise because of all the computers, all the fans running to keep it cool, and it pulls enough electricity to black out a small country. So, because it generates a lot of heat. And we've always been rural agriculture, and you know, it's been peaceful and quiet out there. And if we want to go to sleep at night, we don't want to hear a lot of noise.
Okay. All right, do we have any questions or comments? Okay, thank you. All right, do we have anybody else that would like to come forward in opposition?
Hello, my name is Cesar Gojohn, the son of Caddo Gojohn, 71047 Mansfield Road. I'm at 9980 Mansfield Road, my apologies. I would like to speak in regards to the change of the zoning law. The problem I would like to present would be the fact that the infrastructure in the area would not support the amount of traffic that would come in if said jobs would start moving in, businesses start moving in. The road infrastructure is already cracked. Most of y'all, if you've ever gone down the road, would probably attest that the road is less than desirable, if I would say the least. And with everyone claiming like, as you claimed, I have a video to play in regards to the crypto mining agenda, or as someone would say. But that's not really my main point here. It's going to be just.
You were saying the condition of the road. Let me help you out there.
Yeah, the condition
I have
of the
those
road.
moments.
Yeah, those moments where you just completely lose your train of thought, as someone else brought up another point. The issue in regards to, actually, I don't really have anything to say at that. I already brought up there. He brought up the points I was going to bring up, because I was the first one who, as Ms. Gloria said and Ms. Kathy said, I was the one who brought up the information in regards to statistics about how low noisy the business can be, how it can cause rolling blackouts, especially in the area where there's already many problems in regards to how heating is distributed, or electricity is distributed, because there's already older power lines in areas that often have problems thanks to already overgrown areas and unmaintained locations. Sorry for how I'm phrasing this. This is the first time I was ever up here. I do have a video, if I'd be permitted to share, about what only 5 of those one of those machines would actually sound like, and compared to the 3,000 or so that average at those companies would say.
How long is that video?
It'll only be less than about 30 seconds.
Okay, that's permissive. Go ahead.
Okay.
Is it just going to be sound?
It's only going to be sound.
All right.
Although, before I go, hold on, I need to pull it up real quick. My sincerest apologies. These are what 5 ASIC, which is the standard for most that I'm aware of, and these will be out. From what I know, there will be not inside. There will be inside and outside to deal with the conditioning, because that will also, like I said, it will cause a lot of blackouts in the region towards that stuff. And this is a video from a man claimed to be ROOTV, and this is what it claims to sound like on a daily basis. They require many AC humidifiers, will bring noises that will disturb the local businesses that require often quiet or undisturbed peace in the area to work properly, such as, well, I won't go into those things.
Okay, give me just a second and let me listen. Run it and don't say anything and let me hear. That's okay. That's all right.
Oh, I got an ad board. Hold on, I got an ad board up. This is this is just explaining the stuff he did set up.
All right, I think you got it. Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Huh?
Is there anything else you would like to add?
I'd also like to clarify, when it comes to the actual crypto business itself, wouldn't that fall under citation 1035, where it states that it's essentially a banking system, if I understand. If you know what cryptocurrency is, would anyone know what cryptocurrency is before I start speaking about it?
We do, but I have to tell you that we give you 3 minutes and that's expired. And I'm not sure about the 103 section. That sounds like maybe a state statute or a federal statute, and we don't.
Okay.
That's not something we deal with in here. But okay, any questions for the speaker? None? Okay, thank you for coming in. All right, is there anybody else that would like to speak in opposition?
My name is Arthur Lee Houston. I stay at 3463 Fountain Blue Road, and it will be right across from where I stay at. Now keep in mind, they have a train track on the other side. That's noisy enough when it's coming through at night. And I'm retired and got health issues too, and it's hard to sleep. So what my question is, would you want something like that across the street from your house when you done just got off work, trying to get a good night's sleep, and you got all this noise and stuff going? I just don't think it's right. If you want to take it somewhere, take it out in the woods and put it further out. But we as homeowners, we don't need that in our neighborhood.
Okay. Any questions for the speaker? Okay, thank you, sir. Anybody else in opposition? Anybody else in opposition? Okay. At this point, we give the right to the applicant to come back up for rebuttal. If you would like to come up and address anything, we're going to give you 3 minutes to do that. You don't have to, but it's an option.
Just a couple of comments.
Okay.
Could you put that zoning map back up? In regards to the previous discussion on what zoning we may ultimately end up with, depending on what the commission does with their code text amendment, I'd just like to point out that all of this dark area here is industrial zoning. So we're just across the street from industrial zoning. So I kind of reject the idea of spot zoning, because right across the road is zoning. Could I put this one back, please? If we wind up with a C3, sorry, it's not quite big enough. Then we have an area here that's C3. If we wind up with a C2, we have an area here, we also have different zonings here. I mean, is that spot zoning? And the other point I'd like to make is all of this area here is RA. That is true, and we are abutting an RA, but it's not a RA because it's developed. It's an RA because it's not developed. If you look at that on Google Earth, you'll see large tracts of green, wooded, undeveloped property. So the idea that there's housing right next door, as opposed to the case that we heard a couple of cases back, that's certainly not the case here. In fact, one gentleman even mentioned the wetlands on the 65 acres. That's absolutely true. Most of my client's property stays in the water most of the year, so the chances of it ever being developed is probably not very realistic, because it stays underwater, because Boggy Bayou fronts it, and Boggy Bayou comes out of its bank regularly. So I'd just like to point that out, that yeah, we are next to an RA, but I can honestly say that you could stand in the middle of this lot and you cannot see a house anywhere.
Okay.
I have a question.
We gotta have order, y'all. We gotta have order.
I have a question.
Yes.
You used the term wetland. Is it a Corps of Engineers designated wetland?
No, I don't know that, but it's wet. When you walk back there, you will get wet.
Now, there is a difference.
There is a difference.
You know that.
I understand that, yeah.
Okay. Do we have any comments, questions for the speaker?
I have a question.
Okay, Mr. Humphrey?
My question is, has there been a study on the system to determine what is the decimal output from those devices to determine what is going on? Because think about if you were living in that area, and you have to give the residents the due diligence, because if they have purchased their properties and they want to live peacefully, and of course your due diligence would be, in my opinion, is determining what is the decimal output of those machines, and see how that they will impact the community before you go into a community to determine that's where you want to put those types of machines. Have you done that?
No, sir. That's, to be honest with you, Mr. Humphrey, that's not my purview. I'm not the builder of the building. This gentleman here could answer that far better than I. I'm just here for the plating and the zoning. I fully admit to this board and to these people in this audience, I know very little about Bitcoining. Very little. And I learned a long time ago not to bloviate about things you don't know about. So
sure.
I'm not going to answer your question because I don't know the answer to your question. Okay.
Thank you for being honest.
Yes.
Let me make a comment. If I hear anything, I hear repeatedly from people in my community, we have fracking, and we have the constant, engagement of the motors, and they can be felt for miles. I mean, they're not even neighborhoods that are right up against these fracking areas. I know it's a different concept. I know
There's
it's
a well
different
site on
industry,
that 65
but it's
acres.
but they're loud and they're annoying. So I understand what's being said here, and it does go to comfort and quality of life for people that are there. So while it sounds innocent and generic on the front end, there are a lot of things to think about when it comes to the noise and the noise pollution that's produced by this. So I do have a concern with that. I'm going to be honest with you,
Okay.
as one of 6 on this board. So that's just a comment. Okay. Any other questions, comments for the speaker?
Can I make any rebuttal?
No, he did it for you. We're past we're done with speakers at this point, because our process does not allow us to have any more, because he was your rebuttal. Okay. We're at a point now where I need to get a motion from the board.
I'll make a motion that we defer.
Okay.
On the basis that part of the agenda tonight is to deal with the UDC concerning data centers.
Okay. All right.
And that decision hasn't been made yet, so until that's made, I suggest that we defer.
Okay, we have
until you have a clear path of knowing what's
I understand. I appreciate that.
Okay, we have a motion to
Second.
defer, a second by Mr. Humphrey. Any need for discussion? Any substitute motions? We're good? Okay, all right. So we're ready to vote. Motion to defer to next month's business, right?
Wait, it may not be
Wait.
next month.
Okay, hang on.
It depends on when, after we vote, then it depends on what the commission says. They may do something different than us.
Mr. Clark, Mr. Bernstein, what's the recommendation?
You want to defer this application for rezoning to the next meeting, right?
Right, but what Mr. Marshev is saying is if we haven't looked at number 13 on the agenda, and if it passes out of here on recommendation, then we got to let the Parish Commission do their magic with it and approve it, if they're going to approve it. Then we would want to look at this application on its face to see what zoning that they would need to actually be applying for,
And I
if it
think
passes.
that if you recommend approval today, the commission will not make a determination until May. So if, it's up to you if you'd like to defer until May, if that's what you're waiting on, whether or not, because the commission makes law, not you.
Okay.
Can we defer for more than 1 month?
You can.
Okay, Mr. Taylor.
Well, then I would say that we defer pending what this body does and then what the commission does.
Okay, so I think we would like to get it in here as quickly as possible, back in here, but I would like to say that it could potentially be 2 business meetings out, because we don't know what's gonna happen on the backside. So, is that understood with this motion? Are we good with that? Mr. Bernstein, I'm looking at you.
I'm just thinking of the calendar in that, April.
20.
Yeah, so the first week in May would be the first time that the parish commission could vote on this. But whether or not they do, so my suggestion might be a little further out, give them time for their process.
Well, let me ask you this, if we defer it to the next business meeting and it's still not ready, can we defer it again? Or do we have to rule?
You're going to be having the applicant coming back.
I understand that.
From that standpoint, perhaps going ahead and deferring it to the May meeting of this body would be the earliest that you could take it up. And then at that meeting, if the parish commission is still considering the code text amendment to put data centers in the UDC, then at that point defer it again until the parish commission finishes their consideration.
Okay, can we get that information over to them, that we have an application possibly pending for this, so they'll understand, what's happening here?
So we will talk to
Okay,
the clerk.
thank you.
Just going to defer until our May
Okay,
meeting.
all right, so we got a motion on the floor by Mr. Marshev. He has changed it to say defer to the May meeting, this case, and a second by Mr. Humphrey, and we're ready to vote on the deferral. All right, a 6-0 recommendation for deferral. It'll pass out to the parish commission, and in the meantime, they'll look at this, whatever we're getting ready to do in number 13 on the agenda today.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, that takes us to our next case. Is agenda item number 10, case number 235P, zoning, rezoning for Fusion Mall LLC. Do we have the primary spokesperson for this case?
How are y'all today?
Good, how are you?
I'm just peachy. First, I want to thank y'all for letting me come here today to do this. I am currently trying to purchase a piece of property on Paulwood Road in Keithville, of which I've been a resident of for the last 26 years. And my whole thought process in doing this, since this is the first time I've actually had to rezone any property, even though I have had many businesses in the last 40 years, I've never had to do this, so I had to rely on some people to help me kind of guide me through it.
Excuse me,
And until
excuse
this
me, ma'am.
past week, everything was just fine, and I had everything ready to
Madam
go.
Chair,
And hit a
Excuse me.
stumbling block.
Pardon me just a moment. Yes, sir.
did you get her name and address for the record?
Deborah Johnson, 8850 Sebastian Road.
Thank you.
Keyfield, Louisiana.
Thank you, Ms. Clark.
She did.
Okay, sorry about that. We have to have it for the record.
Yeah.
It's all right. Sorry.
Okay, so anyway, when I first started getting all my stuff together, and I followed all the guidelines that I was told to follow, and did everything I was told to do, and till a couple of weeks ago, I got a very ugly, mean, hateful email, and then started getting phone calls. So part of what I'm going to tell you today is my integrity has been very, very demeaned. And having been in business this many years, I never thought I'd have to go through something like this just to get a building zoned, or rezoned, I should say. And so I gave you these packets, and as you can see, I don't tell you my previous businesses, but we even had businesses pre-internet. So when they are showing businesses that I've had, we have businesses that you won't even be able to find information on because there was no internet at the time. But I am a licensed auctioneer. I am also a licensed FFL dealer. I have licenses for ATC, LAAT, CA, BC, and the governor has appointed me to the Board of Auctioneers in Baton Rouge. So I do sit on the board for all, and represent all auctioneers in Louisiana. Now, part of the controversy seems to be that someone told someone I was putting a vape shop in this building. So I want to show you this building. Oh, you have it? Okay. All right. This building, as you can see, is rather large. And for the life of me, why would somebody purchase something like this, put inventory in there to fill it up, and spend all that money to not be open on a daily basis when you have another vape shop that's just down the road? I mean, not very far. Plus, I do own a vape shop only a few miles from here. This is a totally separate business. Are you not allowed to have more than one business? I mean, y'all tell me, because if you're not, then I need to go home. But I want to put my current business, which is currently located in Quail Creek, into this building, because when COVID hit and we had to shut down, we lost 80% of our business. I was never able to get it back in a retail traffic situation. So we ended up shutting down to the public, and we sell a lot of things online. So a lot of our business went to online, but still some being sold online to local people. Go figure, but they don't want to come to the store. So we've been looking for almost 2 years to find something that would fill the space of what we needed to do to make this work. And I looked at probably a dozen buildings over the last 2 years, and when I put my foot through the front door of this building, I knew it was right. Because the very first building where you see I put main event building for the auctions and sales, it's large enough to hold any event that we would ever have to do, because we conduct estate sales, we do estate auctions, and there are times when somebody cannot have an estate sale because their property is either they waited too late to try to sell the house, and it has to be packed up, and we have to pack the whole estate up and take it someplace else to have the estate sale. So this would be the building for that. Plus, I am an auctioneer, and I used to do live auctions all the time, but after COVID, can't do anything. So this right here is the perfect building for us to be able to do everything we need to do. Now, someone called me this morning and said, oh, you gotta have 7 more parking spaces. Okay, I don't care. I'll put in 7 more parking spaces if I have to. But we counted 72 parking spaces. If you look at this map, this is from Google Earth, so it's a little bit old. Now, part of the resistance that I had, when I had the meeting for everyone, there was really not a lot of controversy, except for them saying they didn't want a flea market junk dealer moving into the neighborhood. Now, where they ever got this idea, I don't know. But I also wanted to show you We don't deal in junk. Now, we're not all antiques because we also liquidate businesses and have brand new stuff. I keep forgetting you have one. So we have new stuff, we have old stuff, we have antique stuff. We sell on consignment. We take in things for people to help them. And I've lived in this area for 26 years, and I know that progress is coming our way. I mean, I've seen it happen ever since we moved out there. So this building has been sitting there for 5 to 10 years vacant, to where I've heard of illegal activities going on behind these buildings back here, which there is a fence now that's been torn down because where people drive through, but of course we repair that because we don't want them coming in there. But I just think it breeds more activity if it isn't occupied. And personally, I mean, for me to have the licenses that I have, I've been called a liar, a fraud, misrepresenting the community, and this is nothing of what I am. So in the last couple of days, I do have a few people that are come up here to speak for me because I didn't know that I was going to need anything like that. Because I do run a respectable business, and I've been doing this for a long time. And the area there is thriving, and it could be a good community. And if they're worried about security, we have our own security. But I don't have any way to take care of because their neighbors aren't clearing up their yards, or because they have an oil company that has trucks that drives across the street from them. And that's the kind of thing they were putting on me, saying that, you know, well, you can't come there. And as far as traffic, that's the only other concern I had was traffic. And we would probably have much less traffic than any church or anything like that would put into this place, because we're not there all the time. We're working out in the field on estate sales or other jobs. But when we are there, we'll be working in this back room where it says employee activities. And that's where we'll be setting up our live shows. We'll be doing our internet connections and online, all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, that building back there. It's a 2-story building, so it's actually a large building. But that center building is for the inventory, and then that first building for, you know, whenever we're receiving people. Because that's really the only place that anybody that isn't an employee will come, is to the big building there. And like I said, there's plenty of room for everybody, so I just don't see where this wouldn't be a win-win situation for the community. So if anybody has any kind of thing against me, I may have had businesses in the past, but I don't run any illegal business. I have never done anything like that. I have never been arrested. I have never had a business that has gone bankrupt. I have never done anything. So for them to say that my integrity is that I'm the liar and I'm the fraud and I'm misrepresenting the community is way off base. So the only other thing I have to say is that I didn't send out these letters. I guess y'all don't send them out either. I'm sure you have people that do that. And as far as I knew, everyone in this community got their letters. I can't help it if they don't check their post office box and don't get their letter in time. But when I held my meeting, there really was no opposition by the time I finished showing them what we did, how we were going to do it, and that's about all I got to say.
Okay, do we have any questions for the speaker? I have one. You said you're at FFL?
I am.
Okay, are you going to be selling guns there?
Only if it's involved with an estate, and that's not very often. If we're doing I have the FFL for that reason. If we're selling firearms in an estate sale, you don't have to have a license, but we wanted to have the license so that there was no question as to why we could be selling these guns. But I don't bring in guns. I don't buy guns to resell. I don't have, just any regular gun business. But
Okay.
you do have estates that have guns.
Okay, Mr. Marsheev has a question for you.
If you purchase this property, what is your intent on the exterior of the building? Do you intend to do anything different than what's there?
You know, it's funny you asked me that, because as far as the exterior, not really, but I had a couple of ladies that sent me messages on Facebook saying, oh, we were married there 61 years ago. I would sure hate to see anything happen to it. And of course, I told them, anytime they wanted to stop by to take a look for reminiscing purposes or whatever, we're really not gonna do that much to it except clean it up, keep it clean and that kind of thing.
Just maintain the property.
Yeah. I don't need to. I mean, I'm looking for a low-key place because I hate to say I don't want people in there, but I really don't want people looking for us to come there unless we're having a special event.
All right, any
Well,
more?
I have some questions of staff. Is there a school in the middle of this piece of property?
There was a school, I
It's
think.
it's no longer in
Many
operation.
years ago.
Okay, but
think that-
that building is still there?
Yes, I think that was the Graywood School. I may be
No, Graywood School is behind there. That's the Heart of Hope now.
totally.
That's where they have the unwed mother's place back there.
The
I'm
other
saying, I
question
think
have
that
of
at
the
one
staff-
time it may have been.
Yeah.
But,
The
and I
other
said I
question
may be
have of
wrong.
staff,
I'm not-
Alan, is.
It was never the school.
Okay, I say I may be wrong.
Future land use map in the master plan. There are residential lots along Colquitt Road, and they currently have small homes on them. Is that correct?
Correct.
But in the master plan, that area was designated to be neighborhood commercial.
Rural enterprise,
Rural enterprise.
yeah, commercial.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, do we have anybody else here that would like to come speak in support of the application? Support? Mr. Jordan.
Because of later.
Hi. Hi. My name is Hope Tholey. I live at 10234 Dover Place, Keithville, Louisiana, 71047.
Okay.
I'm here to talk for Deborah. I've known Deborah for about 15 years. I've worked with her, I've worked for her, and she and her family are as honest as the day is long. If you need help, Deborah is there. I've been in quite a few of her businesses, and they are up and up. And I can't emphasize enough how honest and kind and helpful Deborah is. And I really think that her opening this business would be a help to Keithville. And that's it.
Do we have any questions for the speaker? No questions? Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you. All right, do we have anybody else that would like to come forward and support?
Hello, y'all.
Hi.
I'm Jill Brown, 10181 McElroy Drive. Of course, that may not be the name that some of our neighboring neighbors call our street. It's been an ugly week, honestly. I just want to talk about having empty buildings is never good for a neighborhood. Number one, they're going to deteriorate. Number two, people are going to break into them. Number three, people that are on drugs, they're going to go in there and they're going to make drug houses out of it. So getting someone into that building is always a good thing. And you never want to, you want to be careful what you wish for, because whenever you start saying, well, I want this in there, I want that in there, well, it may be worse than the original plan. Traffic is bad on Colquitt Road. I will agree with that. But traffic is normally bad at 7:30 in the morning to about 8:30 in the morning, Monday through Friday. And then when everybody's coming home from work, traffic is bad. But I would think that sometimes, you know, the times that she's planning on doing, like, say, live auctions, that would not affect that time. So you can normally get out pretty easily. And I normally go on off of Jersey Gold Road onto Colquitt. So it's fairly easy to get in and out of. Excuse me. I have been to Deborah's estate sales and her stores, and I will say that everything is normally very clean, very organized. It's just good business. It's just really good business. So I don't expect anything less than that from her. And not only that, we like to support our people. She's a Keithville resident, and we like to support Keithville businesses. So that's all I want to say. I just hope that y'all will consider that. Like I said, the alternatives to what could come into that building could be far, far worse. And, churches are just not, this wasn't originally in a church. And churches are not in the market for buying property right now. So we need to fill that building and get someone in there so that it can't become a drug home. Thank you.
Any questions for the speaker? Okay, thank you, Ms. Brown. The next, we got two more people.
Scott McGee, 311 Hallmark Drive, Stonewall, Louisiana, 71078. I just really wanted to come out and speak in support of Deborah and the business of the auction house. I've recently been a client of theirs, and I can tell you they all operate with the utmost integrity and honesty. They've been through a lot with my family and saved us a lot of grief with their integrity and the way they run their business. And I've been to her current location, and I can tell you it's spotless. And not probably another depressed area, if you will. But she runs a great business, high integrity, does a great job that's needed by the community for those in need. And I can't say enough about it. Knowing the property, it definitely is an interesting property, and I don't think you're going to get a standard purchaser of the property. It's going to take someone with special needs. And living in the community, and my son lives right down the street from that property, this is ideal for what she does. And I can't see the property increasing in value, was the word of the early afternoon, increasing in value with many other clients in there. What she does, she needs something like this, and that's a perfect location for her. I agree with what she said.
All right, any questions for the speaker? Okay, thank you. All right, we had somebody else that wanted to come forward? I was going to say, I didn't think she was going to let you get out of it, so.
Pardon?
I didn't think she was going to let you get out of it.
I know. My name is Ruth Sanders. I live at 2160 Francis Drive in Shreveport, 71118. I do live in Southern Hills, and I live not far from Colquitt Road. First thing I'd like to say to y'all today is that I did not have to come here today. I'm a busy person. I had appointments for this afternoon, and when Deborah called me and asked me to come and vouch for her today, I was more than glad to do that. I rearranged my afternoon schedule so that I could come and be here and be of support to her. One thing I want to say to you is that in Proverbs, Proverbs 6, the Lord hates and detests certain things. And one of the things that he does detest is a false witness. And I think that there's been false witness made against her. And in Matthew 18, the Lord tells us how that we are to conduct ourselves and what we should do about that. And that is to take with you one or two others that every word may be established by the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses. So I'm here to witness for her. I'm here to do what the Lord expects of me to do. Okay. I made a list here so I wouldn't forget. I met Deborah Johnson approximately 10 years ago. I rented booth space from her in Southern Hills, and her store was the Shreveport Antique Mall, excuse me. I had a vintage booth in several other consignment stores locally, but when I got associated with Deborah and I saw how ethically that she ran her business, I closed out my other booths with the other places that I had because I realized that they lacked the integrity in business that Deborah has. And those places didn't stay open very long after I left. She operated the antique mall approximately for about 4 years, and I had my vintage booth there during that time. When she moved her store to the new location where she is now, on Shreveport-Barstow Highway, I continued to rent booth space from her until the spring of about 2020, something along about that timeline. And during those years that I rented from her, she never ever cheated me. She never slighted me in any way. But most of all, she never lied to me. Deborah is not a liar. I can vouch for her for that. She was always a great source of information for me. Her knowledge of antiques is unquestionable. The lady knows what she's talking about. And she was always available to me in my vintage business, giving me advice on how to improve my business and helping me in any way that she could, because she wanted for everyone that was there to profit and for everybody to do well. Her intention has been to grow a business that would be an asset to the community around us, as well as taking care of her family, which is the most important thing to her, is her family. She wouldn't do anything unlawful or unethical to jeopardize her family. I also work for Deborah in her store and in her estate sale business. She always shows the utmost respect for her clients and their belongings when she's contracted to hold an estate sale for someone. She has a huge following that attend her estate sales because they know how honest and how fair that she is. She has great rapport with her customers and works hard at building lasting relationships with the surrounding communities that she has ever been in. She has a worldwide following and her auctions, whether they're live or the internet. She ships globally. She has that big of a base of clients. Deborah is, like she said, she is a licensed auctioneer. Deborah has a business degree. She is not a fly-by-night roadside junk dealer. These people that have made accusations against her do not know her. All they had to do was go to that meeting in February and talk with her. That's all they had to do, and she would have answered anything.
Okay, ma'am, can you?
Is my time? I'm almost
Yes,
finished.
it's okay, just.
She is a businesswoman that many business women would like to be. Her work ethic is impeccable. She is kind. She is sensitive to others' needs. She is honest to the bone. Her knowledge of good business practice goes way beyond the degree that she holds, because her dedication and hard work to make a difference in the lives of her family and her community.
All right, do we have any questions? All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, anybody else in support?
Hello, my name is Selena Skiles, and I actually own property at 10222 Doe Ridge Trail, which is back behind Jersey Gold in that area. And I'm in support for the local business. I think it would be good for the community. I agree that abandoned buildings are not good, and there is a lot of illegal activity in that neighborhood back there. So I think it would help to bring something in that would, even though not open every day, I still think it would be better for the community to have someone in the building.
All right, any questions for the speaker? Okay, thank you. Anybody else like to come forward in support? All right. You got the look, I saw it.
How you doing? I'm Michael Matthews at 325 Ellerby Ridge, and I've worked for Deborah for a long time, like 25 plus years. And it's been a great job, you know, for many years. She's been a great boss. Well, you know, somewhat. You can only say you can only say so much. But she's a lovely lady to work for, and she is honest as the day is long. And about all I can say about that. Thank you.
Any questions? We might have a question for you. Do we have a question? Okay. I'll try to get one, but nobody has one. Thank you for coming in, though.
All right.
And you work for her?
Yes.
Okay, well,
Thank you very much.
all right. Do we have anybody else in support? Okay, do we have anybody here that would like to come in opposition for the application? Opposition.
Hi, I'm Susan Michelle Perkins. I live at 10429 Keith Road in Keithville. I have been out there for approximately 25 years. I'll go back. I purchased the home in 1998. I am a United States Marine Corps veteran. I bought it with my DD-214 because my husband, my ex-husband, I should say, was going to be stationed in Bossier City because he was going to be retire after we had moved from California. The reason I ended up in Shreveport or Keithville is because he was going to be at the Reserve Center. I bought the home when he was overseas because I liked the country in Keithville. I then got on with the Postal Service. I carried mail in the city of Shreveport for 8.5 years until it got so bad I had to give up my federal job. I love Keithville. It's very quiet out there. We've had some issues. They've been resolved. But what happened, I guess, a couple weeks ago, I had some drainage issues, so I had some, the code enforcement come out because we're gonna have to repair our driveway anywhere from $3,000 to $8,000 because of the drainage, because the neighbor next to us is a residential property, but the property manager won't keep it up because code enforcement and him are buddies. Well, they come out and look at the drainage ditch and say, oh, well, we'll have it repaired, but this property is going to go commercial. And I said, what are you talking about? I've been before MPC board before y'all got so big, and there was other issues with the Dollar General wanting to go across there, and the Dollar Generals in town had been robbed, so the guy pulled the application because I threw a fit because I had a latchkey kid out there in Keithville, and I didn't want a Dollar General across the street. And 4 of them had been robbed in the town, in city limits, the day before. And he said, ma'am, I understand. That was when my son was in middle school. I haven't been back before the MPC board since then because he pulled the application. Well, after that they pulled the application, then we didn't have the issue. He was in middle school now. He's in the Marine Corps. I don't come up to the MPC board, but how y'all got so big, I don't know, and what's going on in the city. Y'all are hated in the city, I'll be honest with you, and this is why, and I'll tell you why. We own 2 properties on Keith Road. I brought my daddy down from Livingston Parish because there were some issues down there and he was having health issues. I ended up in litigation in the city over horses because they wanted to graze in a green pasture because the code enforcement wouldn't do their job, nor the animal control. And then I ended up in litigation, thousands of dollars, because my daddy, the old jarhead, he's, you know, 1st generation Marine Corps, I'm 2nd generation, and the baby's on the East Coast right now. When I got there, if y'all would have been doing your job, I wouldn't have ended up in litigation because y'all wanted to let an illegal horse boarding facility operate there. He's dead and gone. Everybody's quiet on Keith Road. Then I come home. We had went to the base because I'm a disabled veteran to buy some groceries, and I'm like, oh my God, there's vape shops everywhere. Where are they popping up all over the city? I am on the board for Crime Fighters. I'm on the executive board for Crime Fighters. I also own a business out there. I am a licensed hairdresser. I left my federal job because it was so bad in the city because, you know, what happens, y'all want to attack the police all the time. Nobody wants to back the police until they need them. And then, you know, the media, we don't have a police problem. We have a media problem in this town. You know, first responders, the fire department, and the police department. And now that y'all are trying, the MPC board, y'all are not properly notifying people. Y'all got some internal investigations. And the thing of it is, I've worked with Mr. Clark before. He's a great guy. But when I called up there, because I didn't get notification, notification. I purchased a home in '98. I paid $7,422 just in property taxes. In 2000, from '98 to 2003, 2003 to this day was $39,000. My total property taxes out there in Keithville is $46,495.36. That's what I paid in property taxes. And y'all can't even send me a piece of mail saying you gonna zone that? And you know, and when she comes before, am I upset? You're right, we own 2 properties on Keith Road. And I'm mad. I'm mad that y'all are doing this, not only to me, but to other residents, because when I called in to talk to Mr. Clark, you know what your internal little lady said? She kept sending me around. Then she said, I was rude to her because she said, you want me to call me back? Then she said, you need to calm down, Miss Perkins. Well, let me tell you, I'm a disabled vet. Blood, sweat, and tears I paid for that house until I got married to the police. You know, because I was in the city of Shreveport getting dog bed, attacked. Nobody wanted to say anything because, you know, snitches get stitches. When I got attacked on the street, you know who come out and defended me? Nobody. So that's okay, because when their flat screen TVs went running down the road, I didn't see nothing either. Because you know what? I am a disgruntled postal worker. But I got the paperwork to prove I'm sane, but I'm fed up. I'm fed up on the state level of what y'all are doing in this city. Y'all don't back the police, y'all don't back the first responders, and now y'all want to annex us in and shove it in our face. $46,000 in property taxes, and you can't even send me a certified letter and let me know. I don't want this deferred, because I tell you what, I'm going to fight it to the tooth and nail, and if you don't believe me, look what I did last time. Because you know what? Y'all are sticking it to the citizens. Because you know what? The Metropolitan Planning Board, y'all not helping the citizens. Everybody I talk to is mad. Why? Because you know what? When you work and pay for something and expect to retire, blood, sweat, and tears, you don't expect to get a notification, oh, we rezoning you. And then you're going to say it's an upscale antique shop? Well, here's the thing. It's fraudulent. Because if she would have had nothing to hide, why didn't she say she was an auctioneer? Why didn't she say I sell small firearms? Why didn't she say I sell vape? No, you know what? My opinion, because here's the thing, I'm married to the police. That's how I got married to the police, because I was in a bad neighborhood, real bad neighborhood. I've seen some bad stuff go down. I got in a drive-by shooting, I've been attacked by humans, been attacked by dogs, and almost lost my life. And you know what? I am a Christian. Because if you ain't carried mail in the city of Shreveport, you get real close to God, because I got him on 911. Because you know what? Who else I call? The police or animal control. Because nobody wants to control the dogs, and when you get attacked out there and almost pay, because see, when I was out there carrying mail getting attacked, when nobody saw nothing, oh, let's call the pasture in. We're going to go up against it. I almost lost my life because one of the guys out there would drop a chain with pit bulls and let them attack me. You know, and then what's happened in the city, the media attacking the police all the time. No, we don't have a police problem, we have a media problem. And then the MPC board, you know, Mr. Clark and I have worked great together. But y'all's internal of what's going on, mocking me and sending me around, and then when I call her superiors, he said, I'll handle it. I get 2 more ugly emails. I can be professional. The thing of it is, if you want to get ugly, we'll get ugly. But the thing of it is, if anybody calls in the MPC board, I suggest that they record it. Because y'all's little females of these so-called planners are rude. Not only that, and here's the thing. Out there in Keithville, you know, what happens? Here's the thing. Miss Johnson presented herself as an upscale. Let me tell you what she does. No certified letter, nothing. Y'all can't even send me a certified letter. Y'all send it to my post office box, which is illegal and against your own ordinance because it's supposed to go to the physical address. Miss Johnson runs Fusion Mall, Shreveport Auctions, Unlimited Vapor, Auctions Unlimited, J-Tech Prom, Dazzling Depot. Her locations are 9526 Linwood, 758 Barksdale, 2833 Summer Grove, 9447 Mansfield Road, 8850 Sebastian Road. She's anything but upscale. When you go to looking at her businesses, I'll tell you my opinion, she ain't nothing but a drug dealer in a small arms. Because here's the thing. I'm on the executive board of crime fighters. This is my personal opinion. I'm not dropping names. I don't care about money. I don't care about titles. Because I fight it at the state level for the death penalty. Because I've lost a classmate and I've lost 2 family members to murder. I fight on the state level. I go to the board up there. My best friend when I was living in California, when I owned my condo, because I spent 3 hours a day driving back and forth to San Diego because I worked for a brokerage firm. I hear a voice on 911 call pleading for her life when the guy shot her through the heart. I get home from work and I hear Baton Rouge breaking news. She shot through the heart. He's sitting on death row. He shot 4 people and killed 2. Not only do I want the death penalty in Louisiana, I'm pushing for the firing squad. And I go before the state capitol. I contacted the lieutenant governor. I've contacted the attorney general. Lieutenant governor, I was texting on Sunday afternoon right after I sent that little so-called nasty text. I didn't send a nasty text. She's a liar. If she was upscale, she presented herself anything but. Then your own ordinances, location, location, you heard it out of her own mouth. She wants it low-key. Why? So she could sell her drugs and ammo. Guns, knives, swords. Why didn't she present that? She didn't say she was an auctioneer. She was an upscale antique. She's anything but that. And if you don't believe me, I got the proof. Look at the internet. What does she sell now there? Let me tell you. The storage facility across the field, this is what y'all's own ordinance says. Storage unit cannot be used for residential occupation.
Excuse me, just a second. You've got 7 seconds, so I'm gonna need you to close it down.
You cannot sell, service, repair, or any other commercial business there. So let me tell you, where she's wanting to go is right at my house. It's gonna be 1,000 feet from my front door. So am I mad? You damn right I'm mad. And I'm also a Bible thumping, I do not care about, you have a right of freedom of speech. You don't have a right to defraud and fraudulent present something. You know, you can't call yourself a lamb when you're a snake in the grass.
Okay, Tom.
Because if she had nothing to hide, she would have told us.
Okay, Tom. Do we have any questions for the speaker?
Yeah, I've got some questions.
I do too. Can you come back to the podium, ma'am? You want me to go?
Yeah, I can go.
Okay, okay, just a comment. How many acres of land do you have that you're paying $46,000 of taxes on?
Since
How
1998,
many acres?
acre and a half, and then Daddy owns 2 acres down the
Okay,
road.
you need to call somebody at the tax assessor's office. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Something's wrong with that.
Well, that's my point, because why do you want to put
Well,
sell
that's
junk
not our
across the street?
jurisdiction, but I'm just saying to you, you made that comment, and that does not,
Well, this came from the tax assessor's office. I'll quote it
it's
because
okay.
it's going to go in litigation. $46,495.36. That's my point. And you want to sell junk across the street from my house?
okay. I want to comment on something that, a comment that you made. I wholeheartedly agree with you on how easy Mr. Clark is to work with.
He's great.
And he is great. And
But y'all's other
he's a
employees are
problem-
not.
He's a problem solver. He's the executive director. If you have
He was on vacation
Okay,
and
well, just let me make my comment here. If you have a complaint of some sort that has to do with the personnel and how your case was handled.
He
Mr.
handled
Clark
it. He
is-
handled it
okay, so
after I
just
got
wanna
2
make
more
sure
nasty
that, you know,
emails.
his door's always open. I've never known him not to take care of
Right,
something.
and I understand y'all have issues with internal, I mean, you know, the millennial generation, we get it. They don't want to work, they want to lay up and do nothing. But
Well,
here's the thing,
let me
here's the
stop-
thing.
Let me just stop you right there. I deal with these people all the time, okay? And I'm a resident like you. I live in this area, and we volunteer for this board. We don't get paid for this. We come here as civic duty, every one of us, to try to do what's right for all the citizens that live in the 5-mile zone. I want to make a couple comments, if you'll just allow me. Number one, we're not the same board that you're referring to. We are the Planning and Zoning Board for Caddo Parish. That happened on January 1 of last year, right? Last year. We became a separate board from the city of Shreveport. Why? Simply put, I guess I could just summarize this and say because people in the parish did not feel like that they had representation when it came to planning and zoning, okay? So we are your neighbors. We're
I don't
spread
feel
out.
that way. I don't
We're
feel that
spread
way.
out, and we're very serious about cases that come to us. We want to handle things the right way. We see both sides. I said this earlier for another case. We see both sides of things. We have to make the best decision for what we feel is going on in the neighborhood and for what the future land use is for that property. We have maps that tell us that. We are under transition ourselves, okay? We, as a board, as a body, as a code enforcer, as codes that exist, we are in
Yeah, but
transition.
y'all pick and choose who you're going to enforce
Okay.
codes on, and you didn't properly notify. That's the
Okay.
common denominator all day today. Y'all didn't properly notify
Okay.
people,
Well,
and when
did
you get retire and you plan on living there, y'all are sticking to people
Okay.
because here's the thing, nobody knew about it.
Okay.
And here's the thing, y'all were supposed to give me special because I'm right across the street.
Okay, just if you bear with me, God let you speak for 10 minutes, okay? We understand that the notification is not perfect. We had another case earlier that Mr. Clark said, yes, we have a problem with it. They are working on that. Let me tell you this.
You're working on it, and y'all are passing zoning, and people aren't properly notified?
Yes,
working
because
on it?
it's our
You know,
job to do that.
Yeah,
Yes.
but when I pay over $200,000 for a house, I think you can expect
Okay.
60 cent stamp.
Okay, listen, this is what I'm trying to say to you, okay? Nobody purposely is not sending it out. It is not a perfect system, okay? It's not a perfect system.
Ma'am,
We
I
understand.
agree, it's not a perfect system, but here's the thing. It went to my post office box. Me and my husband have a prenup. None of my bills goes to the post office box, it goes to my physical address. Because, you know, the house is in my name, not his.
Mr. Clark, do we mail to tax assessment addresses? Is
None
that
of
what
my
we
bills
do?
go there.
We utilize the tax assessors.
Off the tax assessor's roll?
For location.
The tax assessor's, my bill does not go to the post office box.
We will research Mrs. Perkins.
That's a common denominator all day long, and you wonder why people get up here and so mad, because, you know, when you pay and you get ready to retire, and then you're trying to put something at my front door, do you realize this is 1,000 feet from my front door?
Right. Yeah.
And you want to sell firearms and stuff? Yeah, I'm mad.
Okay, so Mr. Clark is going to, already on another case as to what happened with the notification, as I stated earlier, is a very serious matter for all of us on this board, because it's never our intention, nor is it the intention of the staff, and I'm going to speak for Mr. Clark and his staff, that anything should happen
I couldn't get any charge. Your employees, when I called in, they kept sending me around. I talked to Mr. Stephen Jeans. Finally, he handled it because he said Mr. Clark was out. Obviously, the office don't operate if Mr. Clark is out, obviously.
Okay. All right. What I'm saying is that it was never the intention of anybody involved in this
I don't
process.
feel that way, and here's the thing. Then how come I wasn't notified properly? Because none of the other neighbors were notified.
Well,
And you know, here's the
it's a
thing.
good question.
Let me make a suggestion. All right, when y'all are rezoning and pushing this stuff down people's throat, it's different when you say 1,500 feet for lots in the city. We're all 1.5 acre, 2 acre to 3 acre lots. We're metropolitan states. I can't even put a fence in my front yard. But y'all gonna put a junk dealer selling deals and everything across the street, and you can't even send me a 60-cent stamp? You know what? After $46,000, I need a certified letter. I want it delivered so I know what's going on.
All right, so it used to be 500 feet. One of the first things we did on this board was change it to 1,500 feet. Because
That's not acceptable. And here's the thing, you know, this is why people want to
If you
abolish
would
the
let me,
MPC
if you would
board.
let me finish what I'm trying to say, maybe you would understand what the comment is coming from me. It's never the intent to leave the public out of this process.
I don't feel that way, and obviously the resident, everybody that go before me this morning, all had the same complaint.
And it's being looked at. It's being looked at.
It's being looked at, and you're
It
gonna
is.
rezone my property, and I might have to sell because I don't want that junk across the street. And then, you know, there's an open field there that we've had rats and stuff, and you want her to store crap?
Okay, just for clarification, we're not rezoning your property. We're looking at an application for this lady sitting out here. So I'm a little bit confused about what's going on here.
Because here's the thing, let me explain why. Here's the thing, the church that she's trying to rezone, there's 2 other properties on that corner that is vacant. One of them is in a residential. If y'all give her the little stair-stepping of rezoning or temporary rezoning, then the other 2 properties are gonna go. I don't want, the whole reason we live in the country is because we don't want to be in the city limits. And see what's happening, the tax base in the city, everybody's running from the city because, you know, everybody's bashing the police instead of supporting them. An ungrateful city, and everybody's moving out to the country, and then y'all need the tax base, obviously, because y'all made everybody mad.
Yeah, but we're not the city.
I know you're not the city, that's my point. We're in the country, so why are y'all
I'm in the
zoning us?
no, I'm in the country. This
I'm in the
board
country.
is the country.
But then
We're
why
in the
don't you
country.
properly notify people? That's
Well,
why people are so mad.
That's a process. That's
a process? You
If
know,
there's a process,
it
we
could've
at
went
the
through
board.
without any of us knowing. That's why we're so mad.
Ma'am,
I'm gonna need you
we
to
on
calm
the
down. Hold on
board
just
do
a minute,
not
Jay.
send
Hang
them.
on just a second. I'm gonna need you to calm down, okay? We're trying to respond to you in an intelligent and in a friendly manner, but this is getting a little bit too heated for me. Okay, so I'm gonna need you to calm down, and I'm gonna need you to let us have get out of our mouths what we need to say. We're trying to help you. We're trying to understand. So let Mr. Brown finish what he's got to say, and then if you would just be kind enough to let him finish, and then you may respond.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Jay.
I want to thank you for your service. So I really appreciate it, you know. But I've been on the other side, and you know, the whole reason we kind of have this board is because there was a whole issue with zoning. And, you know, we had issues with people having barbed wire fences, gravel driveways, work trucks in the front yard, 4-wheelers. People were getting ticketed. And so a lot of stuff happened. Danny McCormick passed a bill.
I support him.
And I do too. And it separated that relationship between the city and that 5-mile zone outside of the parish. Well, when that happened, we still have the 5-mile zone. And that's why this board was made. Each person on this board lives in the country. I have chickens. I
can't have chickens and I live in the country.
Well, you can't have roosters, but you
No,
can
I can't have nothing except for dog and a cat because that's the covenant. That's why I'm so mad, because when there's issues out there.
But
I
a
can't have-
covenant is not a UDC. That has nothing to do
I
with us.
understand that,
Yeah.
but my point is, I live in the country. I bought in there because I like the country. I don't want, there's a difference in a church. The traffic issues there, there's no way possible you can have any retail business. And then she says low-key and she wants to sell firearms? You know, that's a drug haven over there back in Jersey Gold. I asked for the resources. Do you know how many drug arrests are back in there? And I feel sorry for those people down on Jersey Gold. It is bad because I live on the other side and I'm Sion. It is very, very dangerous.
I totally get where you're coming from, but like on the other end, I believe in private property rights and people within a reason being able to use their property the way they want to use it. So yes, like if she wants to do an antique shop, I do agree with that. Now, if she wants to sell firearms, I don't
she can do
agree
whatever.
with that.
But that's my point. Once she's on at retail, she can open up a vape shop because she's under auctioneer. If she had nothing to hide, which y'all are not realizing, retail. Do you realize what she's selling? Delta 8. It's not even legal in Colorado. We got a state issue. This is bigger than just Keithville. You know, there's vape shops in Baton Rouge. There's vape shops all in these country towns. Why does she want to move the country? So she can move that with her family members because they all work for her. It's okay, because here's the thing. This is what I got so mad about. When she had the meeting and I didn't get notification, she told the residents that if it didn't go to the upscale antique, she never mentioned she was an auctioneer. This is where the fraudulent, in my personal opinion, comes in. She never mentioned she was an auctioneer. She never mentioned she sold firearms. She never mentioned she had vape shops. Then she told the lady down the road that she was gonna, if she didn't get it, that there was gonna be a drug rehab. Well, present that. That's fraud.
I'm going to need to stop you right there. Do we have anybody else that has any questions for the speaker?
Yeah, I have one thing.
Okay.
Can you tell me on that map where your property is?
See where the corner, right across the street where the corner's at?
Hey, Ben, can you show or point to it?
Okay, the property's there, I'm here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
You
Any
are
more
across the
questions?
street.
Sir?
You are across the street.
It's gonna be 1,000 feet from my front door. Do you realize if I'd have been in Florida on vacation, this would have passed through and nobody knew it because none of the residents knew it?
Okay. All right, do we have anybody else that would speak in opposition? Anybody else like to speak in opposition?
Yeah, just like in the.
Okay, I couldn't see down there. Sorry, I didn't see y'all.
I probably already lost my 3 minutes getting up here. But I'm sorry, I had knee surgery. Lois Harris, 10956 Sunrise Circle, Keithville, Louisiana. And let me say this, I don't mean to bash anybody that's on this board, but I've been here many, many times, know Mr. Clark, because I've been down here many, many, many times. And it seems as though we are all disconnected from what we are used to. I don't know how are you all elected?
We're appointed.
Okay, by whom?
Parish
Commissioners
commissioners.
within our districts.
The parish commissioners within our district.
Okay. Well, what I'd like to say is that, like I say, it seems as though there's a disconnection somewhere. I heard someone say earlier that you ought to be able to do and put whatever you want on your own property. That's true to a point. But if you do that, just imagine what this city, we already catching it. We live in the rural, but the city and the rural is catching it now. Crime is just taking over. And we are living now in a pretty decent area. And what we're looking for General Motors to come back. We're looking for AT&T to come back. We are not looking for an antique. All of us are already old out there, so we don't need an antique. we don't need to buy an antique furniture. So who's going to buy it? Who's going to buy it? The drug dealers down Jersey Gold Road, they're not going to do them a break in and steal. Actually, the building is better off empty because nobody knows, they don't think anything's in there, so they're not breaking in it. But as soon as something get in there, they'll break in there. And then the next thing you know, they'll be breaking in our residence, stealing out our house, taking it to the antique shop to sell. And then there we go, shooting somebody. And if you shoot them in the back, well, they weren't carrying nothing. They weren't carrying nothing, so you got to go to jail. Yeah, well, I'm going to drag them back in the house because I'm not going to take that. But I would like to say, just consider your homeowners. Yes, we bought for property value, and we want to continue to keep it that way. We want to at least have some decent places, at least look decent. And we are just banding together, and these are all of the people. This is not half of them. We just got the notice yesterday. And I'm not used to that either. We've been getting community. Now, I know we wouldn't have gotten a letter because we're farther. But some of the ones that are closer, everybody stand that support, that's against that. See how many people came? And that's not half because they didn't know. Just found out. So I would just like to say, you all consider us as homeowners.
May I? And I,
Any questions for the speaker? Okay.
and I promise I'm gonna let you take care of your need. We are totally volunteers. And I'm being honest. And I really had to wrestle with serving in this capacity. I don't disagree with wanting the privacy or the protection or whatever about your home and your properties, because I want the same for mine. So sometimes, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know how to represent the people, but I feel you. So where we fall short, just pray with us and pray for us, because we truly are, as best as we know how, trying to hear everybody. So today was a day that we all probably left at noon, and we have a return to our practices and our businesses. But I promise you, from the depths of my soul, I come to be a servant and to serve the people of this city, of this parish, of this community. We all fall short sometimes. And when we fall short, you know, just help us to be better. So if there is a disconnect, what we try to do here as volunteers, committed board members, that we try to not all agree to disagree or disagree to agree. We try to be open-minded. We try to be independent of our thoughts. We try to, at some point, consider everybody. So when we're doing that so we don't miss any points. So we're not trying to be a disconnected board. We're just trying to assess a multiplicity of ideas and opinions and thoughts. But you retired, and you're tired of listening to me, and you're tired of standing. But thank you so kindly for coming down.
Yes, and
I do agree with notices are not going out. Probably shouldn't say it. I do agree with it. We, as a community, as a city, as a municipality, we have to do a better job with notices going out. Don't disagree with you. And I really believe in my soul we're going to get it better. We may not get it perfect, but we're going to get it better. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would like to say thank you for your comments and encouraging. But as the young lady was quoting the scriptures, you know, our second commandment said, love thy neighbor as thyself.
Thank you again. Thank you, ma'am. Take care of that need. Anybody else in opposition? Come forward, please.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Donald Copeland. I reside at 10457 Keith Road, Keithville, Louisiana, 71047. I've been a resident on Keith Road since July 26, 1983. So I come here with a dearth of experience and knowledge about that area. I'm in opposition to some kind of commercial business. I happen to live 2 doors down from that lady right over there. So I'm very close to the area. She may be 1,000 feet, but put another 500 and that's me over there. My wife and I have been here, like I said, since 1983. We love our neighborhood. We appreciate the quietness of our neighborhood. We realize that on the other side of Koby Road, it's a whole different world over there. And it's a world that we're not really proud of, but it's a part of our world. And it's one that we have to learn to live with. But we don't need some commercial something coming in there to add to that problem that's already there. And whatever we can do to delay that kind of business coming into the area would be highly appreciated. And I do appreciate the service that you guys are giving. I happen to be one of those guys who served 4 years in the Navy, and I'm proud of that too. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your service, sir. We appreciate that.
Thank you for your service.
Do we have any questions for him? I want to ask you, when you say what's happening on the other side of Quacket Road, what exactly are you speaking of?
What I'm speaking of is the knowledge that there's crime. When you hear a police car coming down Koby Road, it's hard to determine is it a EMT or is it the police. But I can tell you 95 to 98% of the time it's the police headed that way to try to settle some kind of issue. I don't know what it is, but there's trouble on that side of the street. And that building is sitting right there, right in the heart of a lot of trouble.
Are you familiar with the website caddo911.org? You can look up anything that they're Shreveport and Caddo's dispatched to, and that'll tell you what's going on. But I use that all the time.
Well,
Just
I use my ears and my eyes, having been over there for 40 years.
Right.
I was there before .com.
I got you.
Okay, and there was a problem then, and it's a problem now.
I understand. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have anybody else in opposition?
My name is Richard Pomplin. I live at 10759 Keith Road. And I was a member of that church since 73 when we built our house on Keith Road. And I want to explain why I'm here. We moved out of Shreveport in 1973 for peace and quiet. And Keithville is not exactly quiet, but we don't need to devalue our property or have a larger problem with dope or crime on Koby Road and Jersey Gold Corner. The sheriff's office is short several officers, so we don't want any spillover of crime into our road. This will be dropping property values and loss of peace and tranquility in the area. Most people are retired and have a right to their quiet area. It's not right to ignore their rights, so no one person can override their rights for a profit. And the majority of the people in that area have a right not to have one person rule over the others in that area. We need to live in a quiet community. Please vote no in the commercial question at this location. It is a church. I have been caretaker of that church for 12 years, and it is very easy in the daytime to see 2 automobiles parked opposite and watch the dope and the money exchange. We do not need that, and furthermore, the second floor of that building is totally unable to be used because it has we have had to have bees off the wall from one end to the other. We do not want that commercial building.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Do we have any questions for the speaker? Okay. Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for taking the time to come in. All right, do we have anybody else in opposition? Mr. Milkovich, how are you?
Madam Chair, members, thank you so much for your service today. John Milkovich, 11570 Timber Ridge, Keithville. I live a little further west and closer to Texas, and some of our friends that we've heard from today. And I want to make it clear, I'm not here to disparage Ms. Johnson. I don't know Ms. Johnson. I'm sure she's a wonderful person. I'll simply suggest that the transition from residential zoning to commercial zoning can have an impact on the people that are living in that area and have been living in that area for a long time, including, I think we have today veterans from the Army, Navy, and Marines living in that area. And I think it's important to have some clarity, a sense or maybe a little bit of ambiguity about exactly what happens if that zoning changes. I understand that there's been a representation that it would be simply auctioneers, but that would be different if, for example, that business was not limited to conducting auctions, but selling vapes or other types of business. So I think there needs to be some clarity about exactly what business would be conducted there, because what kind of business is conducted does make a difference for the people that are living in that area and that frankly have contributed much to our community. And I like, by the way, the last speaker, he's known in the community as Sarge, but he's been the deacon there, I think, for about, did you say 49 years?
28 years military and 19 with Boeing Airplane.
And how long have you been a deacon at the Redeemer Church?
About 4 years.
Only 4 years, okay. But he's been there a long time. And that corner was a church, and has been. And I know it's vacant now. That church is not disbanded. They've moved closer to town on Colquitt. But that is a transition. So I appreciate you taking the time to look carefully at exactly what kind of change is being made in the neighborhood that went from a fine Christian church, and again, not disparaging in any way Miss Johnson and her wonderful friends, but I think we need to look carefully and closely at exactly what type of business, and if we change the zoning, is there any type of limitation that says auctions is different from vapes? Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and thank you so much, members.
Mr. Milkovich.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any question for Mr. Milkovich?
I do.
Okay, Ms. Green does.
I do.
Thank you, Ms. Green.
Thank you.
You were preaching the gospel earlier.
Pardon me?
It sounded like you were preaching the gospel. Was that you? I couldn't see who was speaking, but.
It was her. It was her.
Oh, good. Well, thank you so much. And I understand there's a little bit of division in the audience about the decision that you make, and what you all do is very, very difficult. I don't envy you, and I certainly don't minimize the challenges that you face in making these very hard decisions.
I want to thank you for your comments today.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for coming and being a servant to this city and the community that you reside in.
Oh, well, thank you
And
so much. Thank you so much. I thank all of you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Green. Madam
Any
Chair,
more
members.
questions for the speaker? Okay,
Thank you so
Mr.
much.
Milkovich.
Thank you.
It's good to see you again.
Thank you.
Do we have anybody else to speak in opposition?
I'm Betty Walton Hood. I'm at 10835 Keith Road. I've been there since '93. I just yesterday or day before found out about this meeting. I knew nothing about the one on Colquitt. And everything I've researched about the lady's business, I don't like what I see and what I hear. I'm opposed and I'm upset because I wasn't notified.
What's your address again?
10835. I'm in the middle of Keith Road.
In the middle of Keith Road, okay. Okay.
I have a question. Thank you. Whatever community liaison that you all have, from not having any communication, but really having a huge impact here today, with your presence speaks volume. And thank you.
Okay, any more questions? No? Okay, thank you for coming in, ma'am. Is there anybody else in opposition? All right. Looks like we got a taker here. Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
Beautiful. Thank you. Robert Silas, 5882 Sunset Trace, Keithville. Long story short, the clarity of whatever the business is that's coming, we need clarity. The statement of being a gun shop as well as vapor that's selling the smoke, is that correct? I'm asking a question.
No, sir, not the vapes, no, sir. That's not, it's a estate, what's proposed here is an estate sale and antiques.
Gun shop, is that in the equation?
No, sir, no, sir. She has an FFL, and I asked her if she had an FFL, and she confirmed she did, but she would only sell that if it came as part of an estate sale.
Well,
Go ahead.
Yeah, I did look up on the website of her site, and it does have guns listed, but it does say that they aren't on the premises until it's sold. So they're not sitting in the shop supposedly. So, I mean, that's what it says on the website, but she did have a few guns listed on the website.
That's based on the initial statement and getting clarity of what what is going to be the analysis function of the business. Long story short, what I'm asking is, once we find out what business that is, the difference and the impact that it would make on the quietness and the security of every family. The beauty of what you men and women sitting there is for the tranquility and justice and peace on both sides, even concerning her business being established. Saying that to say this, if it would cause a problem, and I didn't even want to get up here, but I was led by the Holy Spirit to get up here. Long story short, if it's going to cause a problem for that community to have the peace and quiet, the security that we've been having, and so the sheriff's department has been doing a great job. First responders, the fire department, saying all that to say this: the security of that area out there and the people out there. We're going to need the security that we really need to know what is that business, what is it going to bring and establish in the community, and how much, is it really going to be a problem, or is it really going to be beneficial? I have a question, and then I'll make this statement. Your house being in the area where she wants to establish that business, your facility, your peace zone, your area of quietness and tranquility. There's a train. The train tracks are close in that area. There's enough noise. That well or that other business that would cause the sound of wells being pumped that we dealt with as another issue in that area. If there's going to be anything that will cause a problem in that area, that's all we're really asking, that it shouldn't be established there. And not really understanding the detailed essence of what that establishment will be. It would be good for the residents to know and how safe it's going to be. Basically, we need the safety, open carry, concealed carry, and keep going to the gun range. It's enough danger as it is. I mean, military, we got your back, and you basically have to wear your badge on your face for people to understand that you mean business. You need the security of wherever you go. To love my neighbor as myself, fighting for one another, sisters and brothers, even you.
Do we have any
Then,
questions?
like the military, we're supposed to have each other's back, and we need to do that whether we establishing a residential business or whether we want to keep it quiet in our own community.
All right, let me find out if we have any questions for you. Okay, hold on just a second. Does anybody, okay, go ahead, Ms. Hart.
I have a question for you, sir. You had mentioned something about the well waters, if her business was established there, something about the noise of the well waters. Can you explain that
I
to us?
mentioned the oil, there were oil well pumps in that was one that was in the area for a while. That, how far?
The noise.
There's 4 or 5 wells on Keith
There's noise.
Yeah, the wells, and see, that's a lot of noise. I referred to that. And then there are a lot of retired veterans. There are a lot of retired people that's in that area. I mean, and that got initially, I built 4 houses from the ground up, working on number 5. Saying that to say this, to find security, tranquility, when you want to rest, you want your rest. You want to hear, you want the decibels of noise zero so you can hear yourself think. So that's all we're really asking, is to really understand what this business has to offer in that area and how safe, what are the decibels, what is the security of what's going to be established through that business being there.
Okay.
And we just really want it safe for the community.
Any more questions?
I do have one
Okay,
question.
Ms. Green has a question for you, sir.
So I think if I were to summarize what I'm hearing you to say is to ask myself, would the business be a problem to the community, to that neighborhood, that particular neighborhood, or would the business be an asset to the community? And it may be all of the things that it says it is, but it may not be for that particular area, that particular community. Is that?
That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, any more questions? All right, we appreciate you taking the time to come in, sir. Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your time.
Uh-huh.
Thank you for
He
everything.
didn't say he was military, right? Okay, thank you. Oh. Okay, any more, anybody else that wants to speak in opposition? All right.
Don Harris, 10956 Sunrise Circle, Keithville. I hate to be sounding like a broken record. I want to repeat what everybody else said. Yes, that will become a problem if it come in our neighborhood, because we have theft coming from that side of the town like we already have on the other side, about 1.5 miles down the street from us. So I think that, I know so, it will be a problem, because the traffic already there. I'm retired, traffic all day long down Carker Road when you're getting out for Keith Road on Carker Road. So that church been there vacant for the last 4 or 5 years, I believe. Somebody tried it about a month ago or 2 months ago, but that will become a problem if they come in our community, especially with the theft and with the drug problem we have. Like my wife said, we hate to shoot them and drag them in the house, but that's what happened. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have a question for you. Go ahead.
Yes, sir, I have a question for you. I keep hearing about the theft on Concord Road. What, is that business up on that road, or what's
No,
what's
ma'am,
going
that's a
on up on
neighborhood
that road?
over there off Jersey Gold Road. We have bicycle riding up and down Keith Road toward our neighborhood on the other side there. Yes, that's drug affected over there. A lot of people's on drugs.
Is it back behind the church?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. Yes, sir.
So they really don't have a place to hang out. They just hanging out on the streets and at the residence.
Well,
Is that
guess
what you're
what?
telling us?
Like what I'm saying is, I be in the house at dark 5:30. Well, I'm out late tonight, but 5:30 news, I'm at home now. But when I used to work at night, come home about 11:15, cars almost meet you on one side of the road because they drugged out. So it's you know, Ain't no telling what it'll make it be. I moved out there about 19 years ago running from crime. Guess what? I love Sweetport. I was born and raised there. And I like to see it do well, but, you know, I know you guys said y'all volunteer or whatever, but it's a different board. I'm glad that we got something for the rural, because like you said, we said private, Mr. Brown, I don't agree with that because, hey, I don't want to wake up in the morning time, hear no chicken next door to me. I'm just telling you the truth. I understand everybody eats for their own, but I don't. I don't want to hear no hogs or nothing else.
Or
you know,
smell
you just
them.
got to smell it.
That's right.
Right. So,
That's right.
you know, I, you know, like you say, I got to love my neighbor like I love myself, and that's why I try to treat my neighbors on both sides, which we got acre and a half between us. But, you know, just thank God for that. We don't want to really mess up, you know, what we try to accomplish out there. But I don't agree with that. And I know, like we're saying, that jobs are important, but you know, you can, one bad thing can mess up everything. One bad apple mess up the whole bunch, and that's what we hearing about it. We don't, you know, just like stuff happened up in Sweetport now. It's bad, and we don't want that to be in our neighborhood.
It is. All right, any more questions?
Yes, I pretty much have a comment more so than I do have a question. And the comment that I have is basically those who are in opposition. And I know that you should be concerned about crime, and as we all should. But the parish, as well as the city, they have hired people to handle those matters. Of course, this board does not, you know, handle that type of situation. So I would suggest to get your law enforcement personnel involved if you know these situations that are occurring in your neighborhoods. Get the authorities involved. And they may want to call you a snitch or whatever, but that's your neighborhood.
But could I say one thing?
And yeah, just a second. To, you know, get people that's quiet, that tranquility that they need within their community. And of course, that's what we all desire. But also, I don't know what the person who's desiring to purchase the building, I don't know all of her business affairs. And from what I'm hearing, you know, it may be a legitimate business and it may not be. But, you know, still, she has that right to do so. You all in opposition. But as far as dealing with crime, get the proper authorities involved and inform them.
Well, you know, our sheriff department's doing a good job out there. I think they do very well. But
well,
You can't speak from the floor. This gentleman has the podium and he has the floor. Okay.
And
ahead,
they do a great job because you know, we have a couple of crimes out there, and we want to keep it like that. And that's the reason why we up here today. You know, you want to close the door, you want to keep it closed when there's nothing there.
Okay.
So that's what we trying to do, and that's what we want to do.
Okay. Well, I understand, but a lot of the rhetoric or the connotations in which I'm hearing is that it makes me appear that there's a lot of crime going on.
And it kind of like my wife said, we antique ourselves, and you know, we ain't gonna be there forever. Maybe 10 years we be selling. We want to, you know, you want to be able to make something on your sale once you leave from down there. We don't want to, you know, not make anything when you sell.
Sure.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, I have one more question. The vacant building, which is the church, I'm a little bit confused on that because it's vacant. Okay, it's gonna bring you, this is just my opinion, it can bring your value down by being vacant. Okay, if you have what little crime that you have there and it's on that street behind the church, just like vandalism and stuff like that, having a place to go stay, homeless people, you know, breaking in the building, staying in the church and stuff like that. When y'all would like to see the building being used for something?
Oh, I would like to see it be
Something
towed
like-
down. I'd like to see it get,
After this.
I would like to see it get towed down if that's the case, because, you know, right now, you bring that in, you know, which one you want. You know, you don't want neither one of them. You don't want that business. If that's the kind of business that's gonna come there, then people living there shouldn't be living there. I think we could do just what we're doing now, get enough of us to come down and say, hey, they need to demolish that building.
Okay, my next question, and it's not only to you, sir, it's the ones that oppose, and I know they can't come up and speak right now because they've already been to the podium, you're at the podium. Have y'all considered getting with the young lady, the one that wants to open up the building, purchase the building, and bring something into that community? Okay, whether it's for the good or for the bad, but have y'all thought about it at one time to get together and have a meeting and discuss and ask her these questions and tell her what y'all like and what y'all don't like, and she can tell y'all what she like and don't like, and y'all can come to some type of understanding?
No, ma'am, but I tell you like this. We really don't want anything up there with commercial-wise, because we know the traffic, what it would bring. We don't want that. So, you know, with my, just me saying and my wife, no, we want anything up there commercial.
Okay,
You know, because that's a residential deal there.
okay, I understand that, but from my understanding, she's gonna have a antique building, or she's gonna have a, help me out here.
Estate sale building.
Estate sale, I'm sorry. At a certain time, them hours is gonna shut down, what, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night?
But you know what, ma'am? Me and my wife, we lived in Stephen Chase over there for a couple of years. A young man moved about 3 doors down from us. He said he was gonna be a good family man and everything, and that guy sold more drugs and everything. He stayed there about a month and a half, right? About a month and a half. And you know, you can say one thing and the people do another. So, you know, you just can't, with these days and times, you just can't trust nobody.
Well, I understand
And
that too, but that goes back to what Mr. Humphrey's saying. Even if her building is established, you got the law enforcement in place.
We don't
If
want,
y'all think that's what she's doing out of her business. It's not.
you know, I hate to be negative toward anybody trying to do something. I think we got enough building on Manfield Road is open. If they want to do it, they can go out there on Manfield Road before you get in there and have your business there, you know.
Well, I would just mind reading and just
right.
putting it out there, you know, to you.
I understand. I'm like you. I like seeing anybody have a chance, but you know that's something that you don't invest in. You don't work hard. Just like everybody said, you want to lay down in some kind of peace. You know, you can't drive in peace because people coming on the wrong side of the road, texting and everything else. So when you get home, you want, you know, you're a block away or two from your home. You want to be real comfortable, but you can't give up until you get in your driveway, though.
All right, do we have any more questions? Okay, we really appreciate you coming in, sir. Thank you. All right, is there any more opposition? Okay, sir, I cannot, protocol does not allow me to get you back to the podium. You've already spoken. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
The sheriff's office is 100 men short, and we don't have police protection out there that we need.
We got the sheriff's involved.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
We finished opposition.
Okay, so is this any more opposition? Okay, now we're going to give the applicant a chance to come back for rebuttal. You're going to have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Well, first off, now y'all can see what I've been going through the last few days. But I can fail to see, if I was building a new building there and trying to put in a business, I could understand people maybe being upset not going commercial. But that building has been there vacant for at least 5 years, and I think more. And by us moving in there, I did tell the MPC exactly what we were doing, and she's saying I didn't tell them I'm an auctioneer. What difference does that make? I can be anything I want to be. But as far as...
Okay, excuse me just a minute. Okay, this is the last warning. If I have to say something, I'm gonna have all of y'all removed from this gallery. Please be respectful.
But I don't know what they have against business, period. But if we move in there, we're going to be bringing our surveillance system, which is a pretty nice high-tech surveillance system that could help some of the crime, because anytime there's crime, they come to us because when something else happens over in Quail Creek right now, they come to us and say, did you get that on video? And most of the time we give them the backups of the video because we have 24 cameras. And believe me, I've been sitting in there waiting on inspectors and things like that, sitting in the parking lot just by myself waiting, and I have seen the activity. I have seen a car come into the parking lot and then back from Jersey Gold. They meet in the middle and then leave. So you know something's going on. I didn't actually witness any drug deals or anything like that. And then the next door neighbor guy told me that he never saw any of the drug deals, but he saw sex in the car. So I don't know what goes on back there, but all I know is if there's somebody in that building, you're gonna at least have somebody in there, and the people that are doing this stuff are gonna think twice before they do something. But, you know, because if they know they're on video, they may, and see the video that we have sends us the video directly to our phones. I mean, that's how the technology is now. So if something's going on and we see it, then we can call the sheriff right then. It's not like you have to wait until tomorrow and you see that your stuff's all gone. And as for the guns, even if we had a gun, we have got supersized safes for that kind of stuff because we also do jewelry. We have gold, we have silver, we do coins, we do all that kind of stuff. So we keep everything secured. I mean, I wouldn't have been in this business as long as I have and been trying to get back up to where we were pre-COVID if I'd been doing the wrong things. I'm just not a criminal. And that's what I am being let out to be. And let's see. Oh, and I noticed the crowd that we have sitting over here are all from Keith Road. The only house on Keith Road that is in 1,500 square feet is Miss Perkins. And we cannot even see her house from the building. The corner lot is full of trees.
That's a lot.
Okay, here I am, a liar again. I've been there, I'm looking, but you cannot see it from the building. If I'm standing there in front of the building, I cannot see her house. I can see her yard or her ditch, but I do not see her house. But I really don't know what these people have against business.
Okay, your time has expired. Let me
Okay.
see if anybody has any questions
I'm
for you.
good.
Hang on just a second, don't move.
Oh, be careful.
You okay?
You all right?
By the way, thank y'all for hearing me. Okay, do we have any questions for the speaker? No. Okay, thank you. Okay, we are at a point where we need to get a motion for this case.
I'd like to ask the staff a question.
Okay, we have a question for the staff.
In the report that you have provided for us, you show a portion of the, let's see, future land use map. There are 9 houses on Colquitt Road that are part of that designated area as neighborhood commercial future use. Can y'all give us a little bit of insight of why the planners put that commercial designation smack in the middle of low-density residential neighborhood?
We really don't. The future land use map was not prepared by this office, it was prepared by the consultants. We have to surmise that that is a area that's not gonna return to being residential in all likelihood. So if it's not gonna return to being residential, the likelihood is that it would become very low light commercial to provide services, supportive services for the residents of that area. And that's just a
Well, it
speculation.
already is residential. There's nothing but residential houses on those lots.
I'm saying that the residential houses do need support services. And the area that the church is located is not a residential area. It might be zoned residential, but it's not a residential use. And that would be an ideal location to provide some supportive services for the residents in that area.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion?
Well, if nobody's gonna make it, I'll make a motion.
I'll make it. The chair would like to make a motion to approve the application as submitted.
Second.
Second by Jake Brown. Any need for discussion? None?
One thing we're consistently hearing, the rural wants their privacy. Businesses wants to come in.
It's always the battle. It's always the battle, is trying to figure out that balance.
I'm not quite finished. What Mr. Witcherman said. We've got to be clear what's gonna go in the operation of this business. Because it can impact the community and the neighborhood holistically.
Okay.
We've got to consider that.
Okay.
Enough to say.
It's okay. You have a vote. We don't have a vote, so. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all right. Can you bring up the portal, please? All right, the motion on the floor is for approval as submitted. You have everybody? Is it me?
No, ma'am. Ms. Green.
Ms. Green? Well, you have to vote. Just vote your conscience.
We can abstain. Push the abstain button if you want to
I
vote.
can abstain.
No, if you abstain, you have to say why. I mean, you can, but it's not recommended. I mean, I can't tell you what to do, but Henry, you want to get in on that? No? All right, it is a 4 to 2, 4 and 2 against the application. So the application will pass out of this chamber on a recommended approval on the lines of 4 to 2 to be heard and seen at the Parish Commission for final approval. Okay, if you want to follow the case, as I stated earlier when we started, you go to the Parish Commission meeting and you'll have a chance to speak there for or against the application, okay? I would like to say before you leave, thank you all very much for coming in. We understand time is precious and it's an arduous process, and we thank you for coming in and speaking with us today. All right. All right, we're going to move right along. Is there any way I could take a break? I've got to go to the bathroom. Is that permissible? Mr. Clark, I need to run to the restroom. Can we break?
Please, take a 5-minute
Okay,
recess.
let's take a 5-minute break, y'all. Recess, sorry.
Let me get mine. You need to let light up. You need to light up. I'm glad I had to get so young.
you know, it's just, take some time and let's,
I mean, I think that matters, but, give me a little bit more time. It's intimidating. That's all I'm saying. She likes to suck it in. She calls herself. I mean, she does some patient. She's just gonna work for it.
You gonna be late for the house that is late?
Yeah, man, I'm telling you. I told my wife this. I'm gonna be late.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
Spurs 3.
You had said that there wasn't a society change? Now, it looked like this before.
I mean, if y'all want to say, you know, we tried.
I'm just asking. That's fine when the over 90 did remove that order. No, I'm just asking. It just caught my eye today. So I'm just,
I mean, I passed by there morning. I turned off.
yeah, me too, but it just for some reason it
Then I
caught my
turned
eye
on traffic
today.
street
Yeah.
off of Spring Street.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it. You know, sometimes you just have to choose your battles. You know, y'all just want to stay. Did y'all try to hear how people were talking about y'all? You know what I mean? Not even internalized.
Oh, they definitely.
That's damage.
I see them people out there.
Everybody is saying, we're not notifying nobody, doing nothing, we're just hurting people. Against everything positive.
You gonna let him know? You gonna let him know?
I'm gonna let him know.
I mean,
What they needed was a building. That's why I'm letting him know. I figured they had a building.
I mean, we never went from the HBC.
You know, it's 120.
Sometimes you
112?
just don't see.
112 Texas or 120 Texas?
Oh, I can.
It's the psychic place.
It's supposed to be, you know.
202.
You heard about it.
202 Texas.
And these people are just telling us, case after case after case. I don't know what the solution is.
Yeah, 202 Texas.
Yeah, this must be a recent picture on
I believe it. I really do.
We bring it by there.
I believe it. You know, I felt this very embarrassment, so we can just accept life. It would do no good to argue with these people. That's what I'm saying about this other stuff. You cannot really argue with this. You say, yep, you're right. Yes. Say, yep, you're right. Look into what you do. The error is and notification. But I didn't believe that. They've already inflamed, incensed. You know, so, working that with me. This is
Well, they got a commercial. And you said he does do
bad day. That's the day you had to beat down.
There's your time. They were cute.
Are we ready to go? Are we ready to go, Madam Chair? Madam Chair, are we ready to?
Yeah, we're ready. Yeah, we're ready.
These poor citizens
wait,
have
no.
been sitting here for
Yeah,
5
no,
hours,
sorry.
4 or 5 hours.
I'm sorry. sorry, y'all.
I want some
Thank
chicken
you, Mr.
fried
Clark.
gravy
You are-
and rice. Chicken fried gravy.
Mr. Brown's gone, but we got a quorum, so we can go on. Okay, we're gonna call back in session. Okay, we're on agenda item number 11, case 23-2 BAP variance for parking, Candy Galore and More Food Truck. Do we have the primary spokesperson? Thank you so much for being so patient.
You're welcome. Okay, so I think I've been advised to maybe talk to the neighbors, but I would like to address you guys. I have a food truck. It's a passion of mine, is what I do. I have been kind to all of my neighbors. I have never, since I've had my truck, I got it in 19, then COVID happened. I have never opened my window in my neighborhood. I would never do that. Number one, when I get home, I'm tired. I want to rest like everyone else. I love to serve the public. I have been to several of the hospitals. I serve, I do fundraisers and things like that. I even give food away. And all of my customers can say that about me. I would never do anything in my neighborhood that I wouldn't want done to me. And get in the truck, it's parked in an L. So the only people that can see it is the two people that are in front of me and then my neighbors on the side. And then if you're coming down the street, you just see the front of it. And so I'm just asking that my commissary is there too. I have a plug to plug the truck up so that the food is safe when I go out. I'm just asking to be able to continue to do that. And, so I can continue doing what, I love to do. And that's basically it. If I need to meet with the neighbors and talk to them and then maybe come back the next time y'all do this, I'll do that too. I just don't know it just seems simple to me, but I know it's not simple to y'all after listening to everything that has happened today. So, yeah, it was a lot today.
It was.
This is my first time here, so I do understand, you all have an important job, but I just want to run my little food truck and that's it.
Do we have any questions for the speaker?
Actually, I do. So
Okay.
how long have you had the food truck parked
I got
there?
it in 2019,
Okay.
and right before my 1-year anniversary with my truck, COVID happened.
Oh.
And I didn't do anything. I did a little bit, and like I started back in May when they said we could do it. It was like a restaurant, so I bought all the gloves and everything and did all of the COVID signs and did all of that. I was able to do some of the neighborhoods. Some of the people that I do business with, because I also do chocolate as well, they offered me to come and sell at their local business, and we did a team up, and that was great, and that saved me. But I bust my butt all through COVID. I wasn't one that sat at home and just said, oh, poor me. No, I got out there and I worked.
Yeah.
And I felt all of that. And I was out there on the front lines.
Well, it's good owning
So-
your own business. And,
Yeah, it is. It is. But
it's tough.
it's a lot of work.
Yes, ma'am.
It's
it
a lot
is.
of work. And everything that I do out there, I have to go out there for myself to generate. And I'm the sole person. I make the food, I do the marketing, I pack the truck, I do all of that. And I just think that gets lost. Like, you guys don't really understand what it is. It's a lot of work. A 9 to 5 would be easy.
Well, I have a buddy that actually did a food truck and went through the whole permitting process, and it's crazy how much stuff he had to go through.
Well, see, that
to be able
wasn't
to
that
do.
bad to me because I
Yeah.
started, before I got it, what do I need to do? I did the drawings. A guy in Houston built my truck for me. And I got the drawings. I did everything that I was supposed to do. I submitted all of my paperwork, as I do every year since then, and I have not had not one problem. And everything is always in order. I keep my permits up to date. I keep my insurance up to date. I let you guys know I was a part of the whole thing when we started the sticker. I was at the meetings when you all was asking questions. What do we need to do? I was calling around. I was the one that called Bossier to find out how I needed to get my fire tag, because in the beginning, nobody knew. And they told me to go out to the DMV, and they said, we don't do that. And then I called Bossier, and so he routed me to the right person. And so that's how I got there. And then we started the meetings, and that's how we got this whole plan for what you need to do for the food truck. And I put my paperwork in order every year, and I bring it in and pay. But I did it this year, and I guess when they drove by, they saw my truck, and they said no.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, food business is hard business to be in. I had a restaurant, or as I like to say, it had me by the tail. And I no longer have it because it is, and I just don't know how people made it through COVID. So I commend you for that because people were folding as you were getting out.
Yes.
Have you had any complaints from your neighbors?
I haven't. I don't know if he's spoken, but my neighbors actually called. I didn't know you guys sent letters out. And my neighbor called and they said, are you okay? It was like two of them that called. Are you okay? And I said, yeah, I'm fine. And they said, well, we got a letter about, I was like, oh yeah. I went to get my permits and they said, well, you know, they're gonna have a hearing, and I was like, oh, okay. And that was fine. And the sign, you did put the sign out, but you put it out when that storm came through and the wind blew it away. But I did call Walter and I said, Walter, the sign blew away, but you sent somebody to put it back out. My husband, he tried to put it back, but then it blew away again. But the neighbor, I don't know what neighbor, but the neighbor brought it back to him, so that's what happened with the sign.
Okay, yes, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Clark.
I just have a question because I'm confused because I wasn't made aware of all the facts associated with this case. In 2019, did you come in and did you get a certificate of occupancy?
Yes, sir. 2019, I came in and I did all of my initial paperwork. I worked with Terrence, I believe. And it was in a square table. We were in there going through all the stuff. It was right before, well, I guess whenever the Mardi Gras season, because he asked me if I wanted a permit for that, and I was brand new. I said, no, that's too big for me.
So you came in and you got a permit, and do you know if anybody came out and inspected
Yeah.
your house?
Yeah, well,
the office, whatever.
They drive by because it's a waiting period. Once you turn your paperwork in, you have to wait before they call you to give you your appointment for the fire inspection. And that's when they do, I guess, the drive-by. And no one said, and this is the first time I've ever been denied.
And the truck was parked there
Yes, sir.
since 2019.
Yes, sir. It has concrete. I don't park it on the grass because I feel like that looks ugly and it would make the neighborhood look bad. So it's concrete. It's continuous with my driveway, but it's not even in front of like the main driveway. It's over to the side. My house makes an L like so, and the truck is backed up in that L. So even you just see the tip end of it, but if you're coming out of the neighborhood, you can see the side. But it's not on the grass, it's not in the middle of the driveway, I don't park on the street, I don't come in late, because generally I do, like Friday I'm supposed to go to the VA, and I do hospitals, and it's generally during the day, because I don't want to be at night, because it's kind of scary out there, to be honest.
I'm just.
What are you confused about, Mr. Clark? I'd like to understand.
No, I'm saying that if this had been inspected and reissued certificates of occupancy since 2019, it's a mystery to me that we didn't notice a big truck. It looks like a pretty big food truck.
Yeah, it's always been there. I hadn't had it anywhere else.
I don't see where else you
nowhere
can park it.
So I don't know if maybe the events of the day have worn us down. But I don't know if the neighborhood is not complaining, and this has been sitting out there since 2019.
At the time she went.
At the same spot.
Yeah.
One of my
that's the reason
neighbors
why-
taught me how to drive my truck. I didn't know how to drive it. He actually took me to the fairgrounds.
Is it a
and
stick?
he taught me how to drive it.
Is it a manual shift?
Huh?
Is it manual?
No,
That's automatic.
no, it's automatic.
Let me just finish my
Go ahead.
question,
I'm
if I
sorry.
may. And Caddo Parish, unlike the city of Shreveport, and this is definitely in Caddo Parish. Caddo Parish, and none of you were here, but I went through the Caddo Alliance for Freedom. I worked very closely with them, and the consistency was, why are we messing with people? Everything at their house. Now, if it's something that's really intrusive, and it's something that's causing all kind of problems, and the residents of Deer Creek are calling us every day, we need to do something.
Thank you.
I think that's a mandate for us to do something. But if the only way we found this is that after 2 inspections, or maybe 3 inspections, a zoning enforcement inspector noticed the truck, then, I would recommend to y'all to approve the application.
Mr. Clark, that's the reason why I asked her if she had any complaints from the neighbors, because of what the case was that was showed to us in the work.
And I was under the
session.
impression that there was, and nobody told me this, so I'm not gonna lie like we've heard some lies around here today. Nobody told me that it was a complaint. But I was just under the impression that we got involved because it was a complaint. And it's been revealed to me that it was just because of, I think, the 3rd inspection was done and the inspector noticed the truck, so.
And the only reason that happened was because I came down here before time. I came here February the 5th to file my paperwork. Had I not, if it was in March or if it was in May to file my paperwork, I mean, I wouldn't be here today.
I think there comes a time, Madam Chair, when we have to use a little common sense.
Yes, sir.
And stop being, because that's the reason that we're no longer in the parish.
Yes.
Is because we were so dogmatic and so high energy at prosecuting and not talking to residents and finding out what life is like in the unincorporated areas. I think that this is a classic case of, this ain't causing no problem.
No, I don't disagree with that either, Mr. Clark. Is there anybody else that has a question for the speaker?
I just have you can, I talk.
Okay,
I have a comment.
Ms. Green, go ahead.
I just have a comment. Okay. Many of us sitting up here self-employed, so you can see the service that we give back from our souls. But it came to me, anything worth having is worth working for. And the compassion and the love and the fulfillment that you do, every day you drive off with that truck to serve those hot, tasteful dinners and candy. I commend you for that. And I know you're exhausted when you return, but when you get back up and start all over again, that gives you that strength and that energy and that enthusiasm. So I thank you. I'm like Mr. Clark, I put here, you went into operation 2019. You got your truck in 2019. There was no printed information or verbal information about the parking location of that truck. If anybody dropped any ball or anything, it's certainly because this person is not out of compliance, it would be, the department. Let her go get some candy and some food and feed these people and be happy.
Thank you.
And do what she does. Thank you, Mr. Clark. You said it better than I did.
No, I appreciate both of you.
Ms. Hart, did you have any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay, any more questions for the speaker?
Yeah, I have one question.
Okay.
The staff in their report mentioned, and this is a requirement of us under the strict application, to establish undue hardship.
I couldn't
In other
hear
words,
you, I'm sorry.
to establish undue hardship.
Uh-huh.
And I think the discussion was that you they discussed with you about possibly building a structure to screen and hide the truck so it's not in your front yard.
Yes, well, it's not in the front yard, it's kind of on the side
Yeah.
in an L,
But it's in
okay?
front of your house.
Yes, and I
so
did,
Is it possible to put it on the side under a structure?
no, sir, it's not, because.
What would your undue hardship be? We're trying to help you.
Well, I know, $80,000 to $100,000. My contractor was here, but he had to leave. He was gonna talk about that structure. I did, try to seek that out just to see. And to be honest with you, that costs more than my truck, and I will go out of business. It is my dream to have a storefront in Shreveport, which I have been looking, but the rent is like $3,000, $4,000, and I've just been trying to work my way towards that. But if I have to build a structure, that's probably gonna be the end of that.
Okay.
And I'm just being honest. And for me, I know it may seem to everyone else that that's like an inconvenience, but to me, that's a financial burden, because that's another home.
Well, that's a big expense.
Yeah.
It's a big expense.
Yeah.
So, okay, any more questions? Okay, We appreciate it, and we'll want to see if there's anybody else here in support of the application, and we'll move
Okay.
through and then take our vote.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for being so patient.
Thank you, very patient.
Is there anybody else here in support? All right, we got somebody.
Good evening, Madam Chair. My name is Reginald Johnson. I reside at 4178 Deer Creek. Currently, I'm the homeowner association president, and also I'm also the president of West Freeport Alliance. As you stated earlier, the truck has been there for several years and not really a nuisance to anyone. Only issue that would have arisen was that make sure she doesn't sell the food out of the truck while it's at the resident. Other than that, I think everything is fine. I speak with the resident on a daily basis, so we're fine with it.
It's nice to see the support. Thank you for coming out. Thank you so much. Anybody else here in support? Okay, protocol makes me ask if there's anybody, are you here for support? Yeah. Okay, he's just gonna raise his hand. Okay, I know he's not gonna get up now. Is there anybody here that's against the application? Yes, we have. All right, seeing none, board, what's your preference?
I move that we approve case number 23-2 BAP variance for parking for Candy Galore and More Food Truck.
All right, we got a motion to approve.
I'll second.
And a second by Mr. Marsheed. Can we get the voting portal, please? All right, 6-0. Moving on to the Parish Commission. I wish all of our cases were that simple. Congratulations. Good luck to you. Keep up the good work.
I appreciate you.
Thank you for coming in, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we're moving on to the next case. Sorry it took so long.
Well, so-
You too. All right, we're going to agenda item number 12, case number 23-1 C-type. We're going to hear from Mr. Bailey on the next 3 items.
Hopefully, Madam Chair,
Yes.
that we did an excellent job upstairs in presenting these code text amendments. I've asked Mr. Bailey, since you've been sitting here so long, to be extremely short in his presentation.
Okay.
Adam Bailey, 505 Travis, Suite 440, NPC staff, 23-1 CTAP, code text amendments for wireless telecommunications. To keep it short and sweet, it aligns with the Shreveport UDC.
Okay. All right. This is 12, 13, and 14. Does anyone have, can we do it in Globo on this?
We don't do it in Globo.
We don't do it in Globos. I'm trying to cut it. I'm trying to get us out of here.
That might be something we
to
need
vote on each one
look
separate,
into.
so.
Okay, well, I see the Parish Commission do it, so I thought I'd take a play from their book. All right, so any questions for Mr. Bailey on item number 12?
No.
Okay, so what are our preference here? Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the change to the UDC as presented.
Okay, motion by Mr. Marsheed to approve item
Second.
12. Second by, who seconded? I didn't see it. Ms. Hart. Okay, can you bring up the portal, please? Okay, that's going to the Parish Commission on a 5-0. And just a note that Ms. Green is out of the chamber, so she was unable to vote. All right, that takes us to number 13. This is 23-2 C-type. Mr. Bailey?
These code text amendments introduce data centers as a provision, again aligning with the Shreveport UDC establishes a definition and use standards.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Bailey?
No.
Okay, hearing none, the chair moves to approve agenda item 13. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, can you bring the voting portal, please? All right, that's a 5-0 on approval going out to the Parish Commission for final approval. And note again, Ms. Green is out of the chamber, so she was unable to vote. That takes us-
23-3 CTAP for surface requirements. These code text amendments went before the PZC in September 2022. However, once they were passed on to the Caddo Parish Commission, the commission failed to take them up. The 90 days passed. Therefore, staff feels that it needs to go back through. And so it's back in front of you today.
Okay, any need for discussion? Okay, chair moves for approval as submitted. Second by Mr. Marshy. Can we have a portal to vote, please? Thank you, Mr. Bailey.
Let's go home.
Gotta go through the rest of it.
It's a long one.
All right, on a 5-0, that moves out to the Parish Commission for final consideration. Ms. Green is out of the chamber. She was unable to vote, for the record. That takes us to old business number 15. Do we have any old business, Mr. Clark?
We have nothing to report.
Okay, we're gonna move from 15 to 16, new business. I'd like to start here if that's okay.
Go right ahead.
I'm gonna move through this very quickly. I have what I would like to have as the assignments for the committees. And if you would not like to serve, please speak up, because I have them here and I will be glad to change it, but let's try to make this efficient as possible, okay? We have 3 committees. We have a nominating committee, a rules and procedures committee, and a master plan. Some people are dual on these because we have 6 people and we have, 3. We have to have 3. We can't have more than 3 on the committees or it's a walking quorum. On the Rules and Procedures Committee, I have Mr. Marsheev, Ms. Hart, and Ms. Green.
Could you repeat that?
On the Rules and Procedures Committee, that's Mr. Marsheev, Ms. Hart, and Ms. Green. Does that sound good to y'all? Okay, seeing no opposition to that, I'm going to move on to the Nominating Committee. This committee will be responsible for nominating chair, vice chair, and officers moving into the next session. I have Mr. Humphrey on that committee. I have Ms. Hard on that committee, and I have Mr. Brown on that committee. Okay, and then on the master plan, the 3 people on that is going to be Mr. Brown, Ms. Green, and myself. Okay? Any opposition to those assignments? Anybody can't fulfill the requirements?
Let me just make sure that Shari got all those names, Madam Chair, so we'll
Okay.
have a record for you.
Sorry, I have it here.
Okay.
If you need it.
Thank you.
Okay, that's all I
Who
have.
was on the Rules Committee? You, who was?
On the rules,
Mhm.
Okay, that takes us to number 17, other matters to be reviewed by this commission. Director's report, Mr. Clark.
And I'm going to be extremely brief, but I
Okay.
must make this comment to you that I think you got a true example of the difficult roles of planning and a planning commission in any jurisdiction, because you're never right. There will always be somebody that feels that you're treating them unjustly, that you're not listening to them, that you're not caring about their needs. But I think that this was a good meeting for you to have. I think that in all due respect, I think that you greatly matured from this meeting. Like I've said, we still enjoy being a part of your actions and your development and your meetings on a regular, every month. But I just wanted to share that with you, that this was an extremely long meeting, and it was a meeting with a lot of disruptness and a lot of frustration. But you all handled yourself extremely well, and I just wanted to pass that compliment along to you.
Thanks,
Well, I
Mr.
appreciate
Clark.
that. It was difficult there. I mean, there was a minute there I thought I got to get myself back together because I thought my shoes were going to come off. That's a Cedar Grove thing, so in case I don't know that.
Throwing shoes?
Yes, that's where I'm from. Throw shoes off is serious business now in Cedar Grove. It's for traction. But, okay, so anyway, having said that, Mr. Bernstein, you sure are quiet over there, and I'd just like to say we appreciate you being over there, and I think you might be laughing. I think I see you moving over there laughing. Okay, so number 18, the chair, the board members' comments. Does anybody care to say anything? Because I'm wore out. I don't know about y'all. That's all I'm going to say. I'm wore out tonight.
I'm tired.
Jake's tired. I'm wore out. Anybody else want to
Well,
say?
I'll say something. I can concur with Mr. Clark I think that things went well today, as long as the agenda was today, but I think we handled it in all an expertise. And I'm just proud to be a part of this committee, and looking forward to bigger and greater things to come.
Well, I'm going to say this last thing. That's the first time, and I've been on the other committee. This is my, fourth year to be involved in this. And y'all have had far more meetings than me, Mr. Bernstein, Mr. Bailey, Mr. Clark, everybody in the staff pretty much. But that's the first time I've ever seen where it almost really kind of get out of hand. I'm sure it's happened before, but.
And it happens with the city council, the parish
Yeah, I'm sure it
commission.
does.
Those bodies have police officers in, especially the council, and they have done what you threatened to do. They have escorted people out of the
Yeah,
chambers.
I was at my wit's end, so.
So it happens.
Yeah, so, okay, anything else from number 18? Any comments? Jake, Miss Green, you good? Phyllis, y'all good? Any comments? Closing comments?
I'm praying. Unbelievable.
Oh, okay. All right, so we're looking for that magic word.
Let's
We're on
make a
number
motion
19.
that we adjourn.
So when-
Motion to adjourn?
So
Second.
what dates for this, what I need to do?
Those are the committees you're on. That's the committees you're on.
I'm getting up in the morning.
We're adjourned.
Whatever you need to
Thank you,
do.
guys.
I'll get you the copy of that.
Oh, I don't know. We'll figure it out. We don't know yet.
I would like to commit to something.
No, that's John. Don't respond to that.
They're gonna,
I didn't see nothing.
it might be like once a
No,
month or
don't,
something.
I didn't see nothing.
You did.
Don't answer that. I didn't send y'all nothing. No, I'm not allowed to